We're just gonna kick off with him pacing the room, holding a bottle of wine, talking to his friend.
Oh yeah, that was Deidre.
Oh,
Fucking hell.
awesome.
Oh man, Russia killing me.
She'll be here whenever she gets here, and she's bringing me a pizza. She's not joining this though.
That was your business partner?
She's not.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. So we are live.
Oh, sweet.
Just in time. Yeah. So your business partner is like half Uber food driver. Then is what I'm gathering.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the job that I do actually.
And he gets to use her account when he does streams, apparently.
No, but not for Uber though. It's called Postmates. It's the same fucking thing.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
I like it because it's decent money, but I have total and complete control over my schedule. So that's like gold already right there.
Right. Yeah, because you can just like fire up for a couple hours.
Whenever I want.
Day or whatever.
As little or much as I want. So it's very convenient.
I don't trust Uber. Like
Yeah,
if I got to take a cab, I do the old school cab because there's like a wall, there's like protection, there's
Okay, the thing about that though is that I'm definitely gonna die one day, so
yeah, I just don't want to die in the backseat of some random Uber driver's car.
Right. I'm not female too.
I did Uber like twice. Pleasant experiences. Both
Yeah,
times. I'm sure
did
that's enough to judge the whole thing.
I did it a couple times, but I also noticed because the first time it was like not an ideal situation.
Oh, what is that? Please elaborate.
I took the wrong train in Moscow and ended up in like BFE, and the only way to get back to civilization was to somehow hail an Uber.
Russian Uber.
Yeah, so a Russian Uber.
Actually needed it.
Yeah, I really needed it. There wasn't a whole lot of choices. It was either that, because it was like I needed to drive an hour. So, and it was like, I don't know, it was like 30 degrees. It was a little below freezing, but it was actively snowing pretty hard. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I don't know where I am. My phone's at like 20%. And my phone does this fun thing where at like 30%, it decides to turn on all the services and turn into like a pocket warmer.
What the fuck?
It just like nukes the battery.
That's fun.
Yeah, my last 30%
nice feature
for like 10 minutes. So
the phone's just like, we hate you, motherfucker.
Yeah,
I heard some guy complaining about because he said his wife, who would like, his wife spending all his money, and she was like, "Oh no, it's great. You can get the big SUV," and he's like, "Yeah, but like you got to pay extra for that." And she's like, "No, you just pick the little feature." She's like, "Nah, babe, you gotta trust me. I'm the one paying the bill. You gotta pay extra for those."
Yeah, those aren't free. So anyway, I was a little paranoid, a little concerned, right? Because I'm like, oh great, hop into a Russian dude's car. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I've never even done Uber before, so I don't even know like any like
what it's supposed to.
Like let alone in a different language,
etiquette, or like what
Uber virginity was taken by an old Russian guy.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. So I was paying pretty close attention to all the little details. And one of the things that I noticed that was also pretty nice is the Uber app on the driver's side is real time sending the like GPS coordinates. So you as the passenger can watch, but also them as like a service. They're able to see the car, like where it's at.
So the customers for the job that I do have the exact same thing. Obviously, they just aren't in the car to fucking bother me at the same time. But
right, but like they know where you are.
They can see.
So, yeah, so like I was a little comforted that like at least he'd have to go dark on it. Like he can't stay on the clock and drive me out into the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, so a bitch is going to call him if he tries to abduct you. Someone's going to call him and ask him if he still really wants his job or not.
Exactly.
Like, yo, Boris, you abducting someone? Or what?
Yeah. Well, then the other thing that was nice is like
fuck it, it's worth it. I'm gone.
This man's liver's great condition. It's more money.
Is that it doesn't just be like, oh yeah, here you go, somebody's gonna show up. Fucking good luck. It says like, here's who's gonna pick you up. Like,
yes.
Here's his name, here's his license plate.
It's gonna give you his lifetime average rating too.
Yeah, and so you can see like, well, he didn't murder the last 200 people that
that.
So I mean, like
detail, slight important.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh, white with the American. It's worth it. Fuck my perfect score.
right. My 4 point.
Well, I've had those moments. Trust me, I've had those moments.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess it's probably no worse than a taxi. in Russia, it's
is no worse than technically is no worse than a taxi. And actually, I take that back. It's definitely worse than a taxi, just because it's fucking anyone who can do it, anyone who can have a phone in a car. But I think it's objectively, on average, probably better just because of the cheapness.
Yeah, I think it's a little cheaper, and you might be right that that there's like the lower overhead and lower barrier to entry, so you might get more dregs.
And it's like not as much about
there's a lot of cab companies, and they have to compete with Uber, so I think they've been dropping their rates steadily because of that.
I think the taxi cabs there's a lot of regulation that's caused the Uber industry to pop up.
It's probably like marketing, though. Like people. Well,
Uber drivers are drivers who were not good enough to become taxi drivers,
or at least that's the marketing, right?
Yeah, it's like the security guards versus cops.
Yeah. And you are a customer of the taxi versus the Uber. So whether it's right or not, you believe it, right? So if they're speaking the truth, then you're right to believe it. And if they're lying their ass off, then it's good marketing. But people are convinced by it.
This is like just a fucking nutshellization of my life at this moment.
If I take an Uber, I'll be doing this with like Michael. I'm not going to take an Uber by myself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, New York might be a little sketch as well. I mean, maybe not as sketchy as like the outskirts of Russia.
I wouldn't give a shit if I was in Kansas. I'm no fuck no. Sorry, I'm good.
Kansas isn't sketchy.
Yeah, Kansas is probably okay.
Kansas is the cheapest place in America to live, by the way. Cheapest cost of living.
I think Slab City is the cheapest.
Where?
They're in California. The little communist.
Well, I googled it like a couple months ago. It said Kansas, but whatever.
It's like
Slab City is not in Kansas.
Well, it's kind of relative.
I guess I might have googled. I might have googled which state is the cheapest to live in.
Yes, but Slab City is a communist compound. Nobody pays anything. You gotta kind of just
airport or something. It's like an old military base where they took everything, but they've already paved it. So it's just a big slab out in the middle of the desert, and anarcho-communists live there.
The cheapness, it's relative. I mean, it's money-wise, but you might get stabbed or killed by whatever sort of critters they got out there in the desert.
Yeah, financially it costs.
But hey, there's that guy who's making that. There's that guy who's made that wall of TVs. So you got that for you.
Yeah, you can hide.
Yeah, that's a big tourist attraction. Yeah, that pulls in a lot of money every year.
And their little library that's run by that woman. He has a shotgun, Yeah. There's that.
Yeah, they got a lot of great books, a lot of white supremacist books.
A lot of DIY books.
They probably.
Oh wait, no. They burned all those. My bad. Those are the ones they don't have.
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably don't have a lot of books that help with work skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder what books they do have out there.
A lot of do-it-yourself books.
Yeah, they had a DIY section, and they had some kind of like, was it like erotica or something like that? Yeah, they had like
some
erotica
section. That would be fitting. It's all like
pretty much all you can do out there, right? Is pretend you're fixing your shack and
jerk off.
Yeah, we gotta make it. Yeah, the do-it-yourself books just have the cover that's the do-it-yourself stuff, but inside it's just porn.
Yeah, they're just more porn.
So you can pretend like you're gonna do something.
Hey, you're doing it yourself.
I can imagine someone not knowing that, going there, getting the book, and getting home, and be like, "All right, time to. Oh well, all right, this is easier anyway. Fuck it.
All right, time to learn some plumbing. That's not the plumbing I was trying to learn.
oh well, I'll roll with it.
Yeah, not quite what I had in mind. Man, I just had last night, yesterday during the day. I went to turn on the shower, and you know how
that's some good MJ. What were you saying?
Yesterday, I went to a shower, and you know how like a bathtub spout comes out, and it's got the little lift handle to turn on the shower. You pull the little thing up, and it diverts the water. It's called
Ross. It's fucking disorienting not being able to look at your face when you're fucking speaking. I know it makes sense that you don't use your face on the internet in general, just because everyone would think you're an actual Nazi if you did. But could you just not do it right now, just for me?
Yeah, sure. Fucking Blake.
Blake's trying to force us all to turn on our cameras.
There you go. So anyway, the spout, like you've got a diverter, the little thing you lift, and it diverts the water into the shower. So I'm fucking with that thing because it's like being leaky, bad seal or something. And I like lift it and it doesn't work. I close it, lift it, close it, lift it. And like the third or fourth time, it just breaks the entire spout off. Whoever plumbed this fucking shower used PVC, and it broke inside the wall. So it's like 4 inches back behind the sheetrock. It's broken off.
Where was this at again?
They used PVC. They used PVC for your fucking shower pipes behind the wall.
Yeah, the cheap bastard. Whoever did it.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, so now I'm like looking, and there's like a 1-inch hole, right, where someone had used a hole saw, and then 3 or 4 inches back is the elbow, the plastic elbow, and it's like broken right there. So it kind of works as a bathtub still if you just leave it wide open. It has enough water pressure that it kind of just like shoots out into the bathtub.
Like.
But I have no shower now. I'm like, oh, that's so.
So how do you actually survive? Like, I couldn't live without a shower.
Well, that was yesterday, so I'm feeling a little ripe right now.
Yeah, I imagine.
He's made it this far, but his plan for the future has not been laid out yet.
Yeah, no. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to cut a larger hole because they have like spout caps or whatever, just basically big metal rings that you can put behind the spout to kind of cover up the hole. So I'm going to drill a larger hole, use a larger hole saw, hopefully enough room that I can get back there. And I'm thinking I can get in with like a Sawzall and I can cut it above the elbow and then maybe get like a shark bite. Have you seen those? They're almost like compression pipe fittings. So you don't have to like screw them or worry about the plumber's tape or anything. Because I'm thinking what I can probably do is get in there maybe with some pliers and just get it to compression fit up onto that.
What's so difficult about screwing them?
Well, when you have to get several inches behind the sheetrock, then how are you going to get your hand in there to screw it unless you cut like a 1.5 foot hole? And if you cut an 18-inch hole in your shower, then what are you going to do to cover it back up? Are you going to redo the entire surround?
Well, what are you going to do for the larger hole you're going to cut?
Well, I'm thinking I'm going to cut like a 2.5-inch hole.
And you're planning on putting your man hands in a 2.5-inch hole?
No, but maybe pliers, a Sawzall blade, and then maybe pliers on a shark bite elbow.
Good luck with that.
Was it when I say a shark bite elbow?
No, I had no.
I know what elbow is. I know the screwing pipes.
Shark bite is an alien term.
The shark bite ones are basically like compression fittings. So the idea is they slip on. They're like a Chinese finger trap for plumbing, is what they are. So the idea would be that I might be able to just basically get in there with pliers and like slide it up and get it to click in, and then I'd be good because that's all I need to do. Where's my screen share? They're this.
Nice. And then you'll have your shower back?
Then I'll have my shower back, yeah. But I need to at least get back that far. And then I'll put a piece of copper off of the bottom one.
Now, is everything back there PVC?
I think.
And will that work with the PVC?
It will, yeah. Yeah, these are actually compatible with like PVC, copper, something else. I don't know. Couple different things. So, yes.
Well, good luck with that. I hope it all works out.
What do you use to bind it? What do you use as a binder?
You don't need to.
It just clicks in.
That's
why it's called a shark bite, because you push and it clicks.
Exactly. And how are you going to get back there? You're going to have to cut through the PVC?
He's not. He's just setting the tools in.
The drywall.
Yeah, so there's already about a 1-inch hole, which honestly is almost enough. But what I'm thinking is I'll get like a 2-inch hole drilled and then get in there with a Sawzall, just a long Sawzall blade to cut off the old elbow. And then hopefully some needle nose pliers on that elbow.
Get that bitch in there.
and just kind of go in and line it up, and then use upward pressure.
I'm wishing luck for you, but I think honestly you're being very optimistic about it.
Yes, I agree with Erin. I would so not be that patient. I would just cut a fucking hole big enough for my hand and stick my whole hand in there.
Yeah, and then how do you repair the surround?
You
Plaster.
patch it up, plaster, like Erin just
drywall.
But no, a surround is like it's like a solid unit, like three walls of a shower. So when you cut a hole in it, it's like a
oh, you have
Michael, do you know what that is? Like what it's called? It's basically like a big sheet of plastic. Big.
He has one of those fitted showers. You know, the whole it's like it's a plastic unit. So there's
like a whole thing.
Walls. It's in front of the walls.
And when I looked at like how you remove them, because I thought, well, maybe I can like
just take that off, cut the hole, then put it back up.
Oh yeah, you're fucked.
And and what they said, like what all the articles said, is to replace those. Basically, what you do is go at it with a claw hammer, and you just rip everything off, and you redo it from the drywall. You put new drywall.
You gotta sand it and then recaulk it.
You have fun with that, my friend.
Well, there's a bunch of YouTube videos. I mean, just YouTube it, and it'll show you a guy doing whatever you got to do.
You know, we used to have those in our shower a long time ago. Now we have tiles. The new thing though is like it's one solid plastic unit that people are getting in their showers, their bathtubs.
Yeah, which is good because I had to re-grout a shower recently, and wow, what a pain in the ass. Fun. Of course, and watching the video, it was one of those things that
so easy.
You watch someone do it, and you're like, oh, it looks easy enough. You try it, you're like, God damn it.
Easy peasy, wipe away. Beautiful.
Camera's off for the low.
Not as easy as that guy led to believe.
Whatever, Deidre. That's fine by us. Turn your camera off.
We're on to you.
What'd you say, Ross?
We're on to you.
We're on to you, Deidre.
I'm not fucking trying to hide anything, bro.
You're Deidre.
No, I've just decided that I need to live with total honesty in my life.
And
so we should call you Deidre.
With my family.
I'm coming out.
I'm sorry. Oh my god.
Having fun.
I'm sorry.
Get it out of your system, bro. Get it out of your system.
Is this like? Did you get in trouble for something recently, and you're trying to deflect your blame from? It's like, oh, I'm living with total honesty as a.
I just want to let you know I'm living as a gay man.
Yeah. So the fraud. So the fraud that I'm being accused of, don't worry about that because I'm a gay man now.
Yeah.
Call me Deidre.
You guys, I'm glad I'm entertaining you.
My favorite part about that whole Spacey thing was it wasn't even like
I can fucking show you that respect. I'm glad I'm entertaining you.
It wasn't even like a like I'm going to do such and such. It was just so I'd like to announce that for the past several years I've lived as a gay man. It's like, wow, that changes.
Yeah, by the way, my Nazi father used to molest me, so it's his fault.
Yeah. I loved how like he didn't really deny it. It was like, oh well, yeah. I mean, I remember that. It was a long time ago. I was at the party. Yeah, it could have happened. But you know what? I'm gay, so don't worry about it.
Right.
That's excuse.
It was essentially like,
hey, you guys are so awesome. And anytime you ever get tired of fantasizing about the details of my life and you want to hear the real ones.
We're talking about Kevin Spacey, guys.
We're talking about Kevin Spacey. we can go back. Wait. Are you saying that when you say you want to live honestly, you're actually Kevin Spacey? What's going on here?
You motherfuckers are cool.
I demand answers.
He's Kevin Spacey and he's catfishing as Deidre. It's getting really weird.
No, I'm getting catfished by an actual girl that's actually going to marry.
Yeah, you're getting catfished.
That's what's happening.
Yeah.
So she is a catfish?
How the fuck would I be able to tell you that, Mike?
Is she German?
I thought maybe you found out.
That seems to be the most important question.
I only have evidence to the contrary. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
What evidence? Let's talk caliber of evidence.
Right. So
you have video synced with audio.
So at the beginning, let me put it this way.
And it is January 26th.
At the beginning of
proof of life.
At the beginning of this day, I would put my evidence credibility level at like fucking 43 out of 100. Okay.
Okay.
But in this moment, I would say it's a lot closer to like 95.
Really? Because see, 95 for me is going to be interactive video with audio.
Right.
Yeah, wait,
Like
what the fuck changed from this morning to right now?
I'm not actually allowed to say that.
But I thought you were about to live an honest life. What the fuck, dude?
Well, I knew that was.
Wait. I'm honestly telling you in this moment,
It's classified.
that I'm trying my hardest to keep a secret that I promised to keep.
Well, that's not living very honestly now.
That's not very honest life.
It's totally honest.
Well, okay.
All right, so you're being catfished.
When people housed the Jews in the attics and they told the Nazis they didn't have Jews in the attics, were they living an honest life?
Define fucking honesty.
Well, it's kind of an extreme analogy. I'll give you.
Well, I'm just curious. Yeah, it's extreme, but like I think what I'm hearing is you're going to keep a secret because you're honest.
No, I am honestly telling you that I am keeping a secret because I have values.
Well, okay. Forget the secret. What did you mean when you said I want to live honestly now?
I followed that up by saying specifically with my family.
Okay.
So he is Kevin Spacey.
To the degree that anyone is my family, I will never lie to them.
The rest of us can fuck off.
That's a good commitment. That's a good starting point.
That includes all of you to some degree, by the way.
I think that's where Stalin started.
Thanks, Deidre.
Yeah, but
shut the fuck up, Erin.
If you're ever hiding any Jews in the attic and Nazis come by, you will lie to them. We can put that one down.
What?
I said if you're ever hiding any Jews from the Nazis, you'll lie to them because they're not family.
Someone's saying the Jews are the Nazis.
Yeah, well, they might be family.
Lie to the
trying to hook up with a German.
Well, who is Mike saying I'm going to lie to or not lie to?
I don't know. I was making a joke out of Ross's extreme analogy there.
We're getting. Yeah,
I know, but
it doesn't appear to be landing.
Is she German? That's what it really comes down to.
Is who German? Janet? Yes, she is.
Janet.
Nice.
Janet the German.
Nice.
German Janet. I like it.
Who's catfishing Deidre?
Is she second gen?
First gen.
First gen.
Does she live in Germany?
January of last year.
She just came from Germany?
Yeah.
I wonder why she left.
She speaks she texts terribly in English.
Does she?
What?
Does she do better in Swahili?
That was almost funny. Almost funny.
So now, okay, so generation, you're keeping her secrets.
Hey, shut up. Sounds like my best friend is home now.
Oh, yay.
But keep talking though. That's cool.
I was just gonna say you got Janet the German, who you're keeping secrets for, but then there's Deidre, the business partner, who is
delivering
bringing you
pizza.
food
or whatever. Yeah.
or whatever.
She's doing her stuff. Yes.
You live with Deidre.
That's temporarily true.
And you were referring to Deidre as your wife.
Yes, I did used to do that.
Up until like last week.
But it's not working out.
No, not anymore.
And the reason it's not working out is because you're polygamous?
because you're all right.
That's a very wrong-headed oversimplification of what's happening. So,
well, let's go into details. Then I'm oversimplifying it.
Let's correct the record.
It's because you're Kevin Spacey, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the reason, Michael. That's
the scandal. The scandal drove her away.
Yeah. The salesperson in me.
I know it was true. You molested that kid, that poor kid.
Going back to it.
Okay.
Or pretty soon we'll have his head in a rat cage. Kevin Spacey.
Well, the salesperson in me always believes in keeping it simple. So sorry if I oversimplified it. I'd love to get into the nitty gritty of this. Why it's not working out? Because it seems like it was working out just great.
Sure.
It's never simple with.
Give me 1 second to do something less than legal, and then I'll explain everything.
Less than
way to implicit all of us in your crimes, Kevin.
Yeah.
Leave that kid alone.
If the cops come calling, I ain't lying for you.
1 second to jaywalk real quick.
Yeah, is that what they're calling it now?
That's what they're calling it.
Ratting you
no one's calling it that. No one's calling anything that.
He's just hiding some Jews. I told you it might sound like a bad example.
That, Ross.
Yep.
Someone understands me.
Yep.
Hiding them Jews. Why would you have to hide Jews in California? Seems like that'd be Jew haven.
Yeah, sounds like fake. Sounds like fake news.
Sounds like Jewiness.
Might be code for chaining up the sex slaves.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Hiding the Jews. Yeah.
Something. About
he plays some kinky games.
Something about pizza.
Pizza, yeah. We're on to you.
Pizza gate.
We've heard enough. We've heard enough, Kevin.
Trump is in Switzerland. And some
like a boss.
idyllic mountain town.
He's in Switzerland. Well, yeah, that's every town.
Yeah.
He's in Switzerland like a boss. That picture was fucking awesome that you shot.
He landed. Apparently, they were just saying when he landed, his where all the people gather, like because there was a whole bunch of leaders who came, and then when Trump landed, the crowd was much larger. It was kind of like a slap in the face to all the others who didn't have as large of a crowd. He was like, "Yeah, it was a great crowd. I'm telling you, it was tremendous, large, the best crowd I've ever in Switzerland. We get the best crowds.
The best crowds."
Sorry, wait, he's back on camera.
Pretty good crowds, though. You have to admit.
Some tremendous crowds.
Of course he does.
What did
back on camera now? So let's get back to this. What we were talking about.
Let's make it sufficiently complicated.
That's right. Let's make it Blake style.
No. With me here, that's the only way it's gonna be. I promise.
Well, that's why it's Blake style.
We know that.
I've got one speed and it's Blake train. Here we go.
Okay.
All aboard.
This shit. All right.
Shit.
All right.
You asked for the hangout.
Hey, that's a strong start, you know. First statement, swig of wine.
Well, I've come to the realization that having a swig of wine or smoking a cigarette is just like anything else in life. It just gets you that much closer to your death.
Blake's really trying to get close to his death.
I just took a swig of water.
You're gonna die.
Smoke some cigarettes, drives an Uber. Blake's
just added.
Living on the edge, Blake.
Added 10 seconds to my life.
We're not even getting into the fucking polygamy yet.
Loving that H2O.
There's no polygamy, Erin. There's no polygamy.
Oh, the polygamy's all gone?
There's just one man that loves two women.
That's polygamy.
Wait,
what's the definition of polygamy?
No,
so you're only dating one man?
Hold up. Polygamy would involve marriage, where polyamory would involve just like love, girlfriend, swingers. Whatever.
Oh, is that the different? Well,
there's a legal word, polygamy, which would involve. So when he says no, I'm in polygamy.
When I say polygamy, I'm going to talk about polygamy.
What Bill Paxton does.
Now I have to say something. Yeah. There is a definition of polygamy. There's a legal definition of polygamy. And it is marriage to more than one person. And that is not what I am planning on doing.
Well, technically, you were called one chick your wife. So, I mean,
what do you mean?
Nobody's legally your wife.
Wait, Erin, what do you mean were? Because newsflash, the past doesn't actually exist. There's the present and the future.
Oh wow!
Well, then you were never born, so why are we having this hangout?
The past does exist.
No, Blake was never born. None of us were ever born. Why are we even doing this? Where are we?
Well, I think maybe a.
What do you think? I was born yesterday?
An easier to digest soundbite there, Mike.
When you make the decision,
changes.
when you make the decisions, you have to be only planning about the future and nothing else.
Yeah, but
So a previous plan involved polygamy, and the current plan does not.
So the past dictates the future, right? You all believe that, right?
Sure.
If you're not wise enough to learn from the past,
Well, we're learning from the
repeat
past.
it.
Informs,
but dictates though.
Nuance.
Sure.
Nuance is important.
Alt nuance.
No, it's about right. I mean, because
So name of my new gang.
Yeah, you know, in the words of Sam Harris, if you were to touch the stove and burn yourself, I'm pretty sure you're not going to go touch that fucking stove again. So therefore, dictate your future of not touching the fucking stove.
Yeah, sure.
Word up to stove.
Well,
Harris.
okay, so the past would matter if you were legally married to Deidre, then that would be much more of a different situation.
No, I never was.
So the past would matter in that regard.
Yes, of course. It would still be the present in that case.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she had polygamists. I think she still does in her bio. So maybe she met polyamorous. I mean, I didn't think about polygamy as marrying multiple people. I always thought of it as just, having sexual relations, being in relationships with multiple people at once.
Well, Ross tried to make this distinction just a minute ago. He said polyamory. That's polyamory.
Yeah, but you were always talking about polygamy. So I was using it in the loose terminology.
Before maybe I was, but now I'm not.
Before it was just like a couple of days ago. It wasn't like a lifetime ago.
It was Tuesday.
It was like literally the beginning of the fucking week.
Erin,
it wasn't a lifetime ago.
Please listen to me, Erin. In this moment.
Motherfucker, that was weeks ago.
I am not talking about polygamy in any kind of way.
Okay, so shit has changed.
Okay, yeah, shit can always change. That's
within the
that's
last
reasonable.
couple of days, even. I mean, and there's always that, right? There's always that threshold.
Wait, Ross, don't fucking tell me shit can always change. You don't believe that. Shut the fuck up and let Erin speak.
When your tweet, you
Things
sent
change.
a tweet, and your tweet said that you and her were cool, and then you showed her the light through your polyamory, I guess, and she realized that she wants more than one penis in her life, which you weren't cool with because you just want more than one vagina in yours.
What's your point?
Well, I think she's just laying it out. Is that what happened? Basically?
Is he talking to us?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Securing counsel.
Yeah. Is that Deidre? We'd love to get her in on this.
No, you wouldn't.
Okay, I take it back.
I guess I wouldn't.
Someone say something.
I was just saying that you guys were doing this polyamorous experiment.
Yes.
And because you pulled Deidre into this
No, we were not doing anything. We were thinking about doing that.
Okay, well, she has it in her bio. So she's obviously
that's just her bio. That's just her bio.
It's like advertising to the world. This is who I am.
But
that's the whole point of a bio.
I'm telling you that was always just her bio.
Well, it is reasonable to conclude when someone has that in their bio. It's what's happening in.
Yeah, it's their calling card to the Twitterverse. That hey,
look at the last time she sent a fucking tweet. She doesn't use her Twitter account.
Okay, noted.
Okay, but you sent me a tweet just the other day saying that you guys were trying this because you did this experiment with her, thought experiment, whatever the fuck it was, that she came to the realization that she wants more than one penis in her life.
Forewarning, this is all your interpretation of what I've said, which is totally biased and inaccurate. But go on.
Well, that's why she's clarifying.
Do I have to go find the fucking tweet? Okay. Give me a second. You guys talk.
Sure. Yeah, I was just taking a quick look here at the
what?
Some of the random people I can find on Twitter.
She's hallucinating. That's the reason.
Some of the adverts they put. So, Michael, I don't think that we can trust the things that people put in their bio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I came over to Hillary Clinton here, and I don't know. I don't buy it.
Well, mine says I am a habitual thought criminal,
Okay.
and I think that's accurate.
All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Quote, we always felt married.
wait.
Yes.
So you guys, what you guys are doing right now is you're looking at bios that you consider to make sense and therefore be some sort of proper bio, and then you're holding up Deidre's bio, and you're saying Deidre's bio is worse than that. And so,
Didn't say it was worse. Nobody said it was
Well,
worse.
I don't.
What is your point?
Well, frankly,
nobody said it was worse.
I'm not sure what this hangout is like. I don't want you to feel like we want to pry into your personal life. What are we doing here exactly?
What?
Well, we were supposed to be debating.
I have no desire to pry into your personal life.
Cuckery.
I mean, I thought maybe you wanted to have this hangout to clarify some things, but
yeah, I just don't want there to be any kind of misunderstanding or negative feelings between myself and Erin. That's what I want.
There's no negative feelings. You pissed me off when you called Michael a beta cuck. When you said, quote, that him to be a beta cuck, which I definitely do not want him to be, because I would not respect him and I would not be with him.
I did not.
Yeah, and we were there was some back and forth, some shit talking, and it's just.
I don't think I affirmatively claimed that. I think I was more asking you about that.
Well, no, obviously. It felt like an insult.
Let me
I
get these
shot
tweets
back.
I was talking about before.
It's Twitter.
He said, quote, we always felt married, yes. Never were we technically. Now we've decided we're best friends. Forever.
Yeah.
With benefits.
That, yes.
I need a gentle wife. And Deidre is like trans. She'd rather be shared than share.
Why?
Like me.
Why?
I feel like she's there in the room.
Yeah.
Of course she's here. Of course she's here.
Okay, well, just asking.
He said, this is what I taught her about herself just recently.
I'm trying to grow up, Deidre. That's what I'm trying to do.
We're not trying to cause shit.
Yeah, look, we don't want to like pry into your personal life. I mean, we can just talk about something else. I feel like
I think everyone in this room except me is fucking tripping.
Okay.
There's only 2 people in that room.
We're tripping?
I'm just including you guys in that.
You mean in that hangout?
Oh, we're all tripping, huh?
What are we tripping?
Tripping on the good shit. I think that perhaps the point of contention was more surrounded around what makes a cuck. In the abstract, right? Not like it doesn't even have to get into like
that is a good thing to examine. Okay, so here's the question. Is it fair to say that it's a larger investment for a man to be abstinent than it is for a woman?
No.
Statistically speaking.
It's easier for a man to be abstinent than it is for a woman.
Based on the differential between the number of potential.
It's easier for a man to be abstinent than it is for a woman.
But the sacrifice level though.
No, the sacrifice is the same. Everybody wants sex. We're programmed to want sex because that's how we reproduce.
Have a set number of children they can have, and men have a larger set number.
Just because you shoot millions of sperm at once doesn't mean shit.
Okay.
I mean, we have the gestation period of giving children, but thanks to the advent of birth control, there's whores all over the planet having all the sex they fucking want. I could fucking look up a gangbang right now of some chick with like 200 plus dudes.
That's not the point. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is,
you're trying to make it seem like it's a sacrifice for you to only be with one woman.
That is true. Every man.
That's bullshit. That's a bullshit statement.
Every heterosexual male does not
for homosexuals
does not feel like he is not sacrificing something by being with only one woman, especially if that's the only woman he's ever had sex with in his life.
But I gotta tell you what, if you're not doing your job correctly for a woman, if you're not giving her the sexual satisfaction that she desires, she's going to be looking for other partners.
Okay.
That's how we're designed.
What's your point, though?
So why are you guys the only
So
one?
if she ends up giving up that look and decides to, I'm going to only stay with you, although your penis is trash, she's making a fucking sacrifice because you're going to come every fucking time. She isn't. She's going to wait for you to go to bed and pull out a dildo.
She actually loves to have sex with me, but that's irrelevant. Totally irrelevant to your argument.
No,
Well,
irrelevant nothing.
hang on,
You're taking
hang on.
it personal again. I'm saying in the general. You're saying in the general. In the general, if a man sucks at sex and the woman says, you know what, no, but I'm just going to stay with him, it's okay, we'll work through it. She's making the sacrifice because he's going to come every single time they're together. She isn't. So she's making the sacrifice. My point is that your argument of men making the sacrifice of being with only one woman is a bullshit, selfish argument.
No, if you make the assumption that both people are trying their hardest.
Wait, what? What does that have to do with the sacrifice? Both people are trying their hardest. Yeah, that's being in a relationship. They're not fucking easy peasy. You have to work at them.
You're making the assumption that both people are succeeding equivalently well.
Succeeding at what?
Monogamy?
At
No,
trying to make it work.
No, at trying their hardest to keep their promises to one another.
Wait, okay, so Blake, you're saying it's more of a sacrifice for men or women?
Yeah, he's saying that it's sacrifice for men to be loyal.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of child count.
That
Yes.
he's just saying that men are dogs by nature. And to expect a man to not be a dog is to make him make a sacrifice.
Hang on, Erin. Hang on. Wait, you threw something on the end there. You said like in terms of child something?
Yeah, what is that?
I'm talking about just the basic biological difference between men and women.
What?
Reproductively.
So differences such as, in theory, a man could produce a...
That women have to gestate for 9 months and a man can keep going and spreading his seed. Well, like as if a woman can no longer have sex while she's pregnant.
Well, wait, but so you're talking like in reproductive terms or from a reproductive perspective.
Purely
men sacrifice
evolutionary biological perspective.
They produce. Well, how would you word that? They essentially, men have to miss out on more potential life creating.
That's right. There's a higher.
Sounds like Blake wants to be a Mormon.
Hey, there's an opportunity cost. There's an opportunity cost.
Yeah, Blake, you have to find willing partners. You know that, right?
I'm not worried.
There's not a bunch of women lined up to be with just any fucking dude.
Why
there are, actually. You're actually wrong about that.
I mean,
I'm wrong about what?
Well, there are tons of desperate.
There aren't a bunch of good women. No, I agree.
Yeah, not these days.
Well, there's a ton of desperate women, but I mean, why? So why two? Because that's part of the argument, right? Like the next step of this is that two's the magic number.
That just seems like a compromise, a theoretical compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah, until it's not anymore, until it's a sacrifice, just like one was.
Mm-hmm.
But why wouldn't it be a sacrifice when it's a compromise? The purpose of compromise is sacrifice.
But that makes no sense. Like, you're saying being with one is this big sacrifice, but being with two is the compromise. But then you're just saying compromise is another word for sacrifice. So what's to stop you at 2? Why not have 12? Why not have 20? Why not have 50? What's to stop you? Then if it's just one big sacrifice.
You're trying as hard as you can to compromise.
No, you're not. You gotta be trying one.
No. That was,
I don't think you're. I think if you were trying your hardest would be loyal.
That would be lying to yourself about.
I don't think so. I think that we all have urges, and part of being an adult is not giving into your urges because that's what children do. Yeah. Children throw on the floor and have tantrums and scream, I want. Adults say,
wait.
Maybe I want, but I don't need.
You're telling me that you can tell me the exact line between
want and a need?
Showing someone respect and showing yourself respect. You're telling
what the hell
you can tell me that.
Wait, respect. If you love a woman, you respect her by not fucking hooking up with other people.
But the fact remains that she feels the same way that I feel. she would also rather be with more people than only be with me.
And you have a problem with that.
What?
And you have a problem with that.
Of course I do.
Because what's good for you isn't good for her.
What?
Because what's good for you isn't good for her.
That's not true.
But you're the one with the problem. You're the one saying that it's your natural way, and you need to be honest with yourself.
What problem?
No, you said you need to be honest with yourself, and you need to live this honest life because being the way you are is being honest with you, and you're giving up so much by being with just one woman. But
Wait,
she also wants to be with multiple people. You're not cool with her being with multiple people. And now you're talking about respect. Well, if you respect her, then you'll say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if I want that open door, I'm also opening it for you.
Okay.
Hey, I'm not down with it. I'm not down with it. But
okay, you're telling me, even though you have no idea about my personal life, subjective life.
I don't need to have an idea about your personal life. We're talking in general.
Baby, please, just shut up and let me say something. All right. You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea about my life. I promise.
But we're talking in general.
We're talking in general here, right?
We're talking in general, and we're talking.
You have no idea about my life. You have no idea about my past. You have no idea about what I've lived through and what I've been through. So it doesn't really matter in this conversation, does it?
That's not the topic.
How do you know? Maybe it's relevant to this fucking topic.
That's still not the top. That's still not.
Maybe it's totally relevant. But why is
in general terms then?
Yeah, it should be kept in general terms because
exactly.
Because you know, even if you can make
specifically what you are generally trying to say.
That if a man says that it's a big sacrifice for him to only be with one woman, so he wants to be with multiple women because that's being honest, and then the one woman that he's with says, well, you know what? I need to be honest too, and that's what I want too. He can't be like, oh no, it's not for you, it's only for me. That's not being respectful.
And I didn't do that. Thank God.
So what do you recommend?
What?
What do you recommend?
Well, first of all, I don't think I'm nearly fucking wise enough to be giving grown adults recommendations.
Well, what about Will? What would you recommend for Will?
No, what I'm saying. Hang on. What I'm trying to do is keep it general. I'm trying not to say, okay, then what did you do? What are you doing? And get it all personal. So abstract.
I don't care about personal or not personal. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, but the point
but you
is,
do, if it only saying you don't know my life.
What?
If it only applies to you, then it's not useful. Because then there's always that like, oh well, I'm a snowflake for whatever reason, so you can't transfer any of this.
There's one woman. Oh, look, I consider forgiveness to be the ultimate form of strength. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
It's a bumper sticker.
Nobody's going to disagree with that.
No. Okay, whatever. That's not relevant. I'm glad.
Nailed it.
So, but the point is,
I think what we're driving at is you're kind of setting up the stage for a certain way of life, where you say this is a good way of living, and that
no. One possible moral way of living.
So a good way of living that certain people that fit certain criteria ought to prefer.
No,
such as you.
No, I'm not even saying
Mormons and Muslims.
Just
hang on.
Fucking life. That's it.
But there has to be a reason that it becomes the preference for you, and so people like you.
That's not relevant. I don't care.
He got bored with the pussy he was with, and he wants to venture to other pastures. And he's trying to.
No, you're stupid. I'm not bored. You're so stupid. I will chase Deidre until I die.
Then.
Well, I thought you said it wasn't working out.
Yeah, you just said it wasn't working out, and you're talking to Janet the German.
The romantic relationship didn't work out because it turns out that Deidre is some sort of trans person.
What the fuck does that mean?
Intriguing.
Well, she's just really, really masculine.
Does she put on a strap on?
No,
Does
no,
she smack you in the face with it?
no.
Does she make you suck the strap on?
You are hallucinating.
Don't go there.
She's a trans person. What the fuck does that mean? Like, when I hear she's a trans person, I think of Bruce Jenner.
Trans-ish. She's definitely a woman, but she's just she is very masculine in her character and in her person.
And
so the point
she
of
was
that,
masculine with her character when you guys got together. Yeah, she hasn't changed. She's still the same person. Yeah.
Yeah, but she.
But what? It's no longer floating your boat.
Her number one flaw has always been that she's not a patient person, and that's what was always attractive to her about me, because I am a patient person.
Patience is a virtue. Most people aren't patient.
You're not being patient right now.
How the fuck do you figure?
You
look like you're about to pass out.
Really speak right now.
I'm hearing you. I'm listening. But patience is a virtue. Not everybody has it. And if you're going to be a patient person, then you have to be patient with the impatient.
Yeah. Well, just be patient with me while I call you out about being impatient.
Why? It's not about my patience. My patience has nothing to do with the conversation.
Okay. I don't need to dick measure patience with you. That's irrelevant.
But you're talking about her not being patient and how you're so patient, but yet you're being impatient with the fact of her not being patient. Do you not understand this?
All right, let's move beyond the patience topic.
All right. I'm sorry.
Where were we?
Back to how polygamy is just not a good idea.
Well, thank God I'm not doing it then.
Or polyamory, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Being with more than one person in a relationship is not a good idea.
You were flirting with the idea.
Yeah, you were.
Only one person that I ever want to marry in my life, and I don't really know for sure who that will be yet. Although I have one potential candidate right now.
Yes. Well, last week it was Deidre.
Other than that, no, that's not it anymore. Other than because she's my friend now.
But last week it was Deidre.
But why can't you get over that?
Okay, well
you need to move on, Erin. It's over, okay?
Blake has moved on.
Yeah, it's time for you to move on.
Oh my fucking God. You guys are killing me here. You're
I love
killing
that
me.
face. He's just like, what the fuck? Why haven't you moved on yet?
He's on to the German.
Yeah, so we've moved on to prospects, other prospects.
But he still plans on chasing Deidre for, I don't know, ever.
Yes, forever. That's it. Forever.
Yes.
Although she's too manly for him and he won't marry her.
No, let me tell you the reason. I need to tell you. No, I need to tell you the reason.
Okay.
The reason is she's the only one that I actually trust when I ask her opinion if it's true or false. And because she promised me that at the end she'll be there with me fighting the robots and the scientists.
Fighting the robots.
Pretty important, yeah.
When Google takes over and starts making military robots?
Yes.
Okay.
That. This goes back to the point then. No.
So, if they were going to send like an Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator back from the future, they would probably want to kill Deidre.
They're coming for Blake. They found out that he's real Kevin Spacey.
John Connor and Deidre are on the list.
If they announce that Kevin Spacey's starring in the next Terminator movie,
I'm gonna mute I'm gonna mute myself.
All right.
It's oh god, the robot thing is almost not even a joke at this point.
Did he say fight the robots and Zionist or robots and scientists?
I think
he said scientist.
Same thing, really.
Yeah.
The Zionists are the scientists?
Yeah, those Zion-y scientists.
Well, the scientists work for the Zionist.
Yeah.
Some Zionists are scientists, but I don't think all scientists are Zionists, and I think the ones who aren't.
Then you're not on a high enough Illuminati level.
The cuck. Well, Will's on the highest level. I mean, he's figured it all out. It's It all has to do with how's that game called there with the blocks?
Does Will ever stream?
Minecraft.
Minecraft, yeah. Minecraft is controlling everything. The Minecraft YouTubers are at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, the Illuminati is like 4 notches down from Minecraft.
Yeah, they take their orders.
The only people I'm afraid of in the whole world are the IRS. That's it.
Yeah, the IRS could kiss my ass, fuckers.
No, the IRS is the one that owns the robotic dog that comes and kills you in the end.
They're mostly paper pushers. The funny thing is a lot of the people who work for the IRS don't even seem to know all the tax codes. Like the fact that the federal income tax is not mandatory. That's a real fucking kicker, that when they try to prove that it is mandatory and they look it up in their books and it's like not anywhere in their fucking books because it's actually like a voluntary tax, if you can believe that shit. But somehow we're all forced to pay it. I don't know how voluntary and mandatory became the same fucking words. But whatever. It is what it is, right?
Well, it's what, 16th Amendment or something like that? I mean, it originally wasn't in there, but then they gave
but this is why
Congress the power to.
This is why the Supreme Court not too long ago issued that us human beings are corporations, and corporations are the same as a citizen. Because if you look at the amendment, it gives the right, when you actually look in the tax code, federal income tax is only supposed to be placed on corporations and only corporations that end up with a net profit at the end of the year.
Wasn't that ruling also an anti-Clinton ruling, though?
Anti-Clinton. We're going back, IRS, we're going back 1933. And the federal income tax, I think, was shortly thereafter. No, IRS is before. The IRS was like 1914. The federal income tax was like 1933, right after we went bankrupt and they took away our gold standard. Yeah, they didn't start imposing it on the people until I think around the late 50s, mid 60s, I want to say. That's when it really got full force imposed. And people used to fight it all the time. They would go to court and fight it and, say, show me the law that says that I have to pay a federal income tax. And sometimes they used to win it, but the government always wins in the end. It's just like if you fight City Hall.
Yeah,
eventually they'll get their money from you.
City Hall knows karate. Can't fuck with it.
People didn't win.
I would never try to get out of paying my federal income tax just because I'm grateful for having a military and shit.
Maroons.
But the federal income tax doesn't go to either of those things.
It doesn't go to the military, you're saying?
No, it doesn't go to anything. The federal income tax goes straight to the debt.
You know what it goes to, Erin?
It goes straight to the debt.
The Clinton Foundation?
Huh?
What you mean?
Every single dollar that's printed is printed with a debt attached to it, right? So as the
every single
Federal Reserve.
Hang on.
The Federal Reserve.
You can't gish gallop. You can't gish gallop. What are you saying now? You're saying every dollar that's printed has a debt?
That's the point.
Yes.
Debt
it's called interest.
That equals all the things that we actually have, right?
That would be negative. That is not true. It divides.
That is true.
That is not true. I reject this statement.
That is where our national debt comes from, is the fact that the Federal Reserve keeps printing money. As they print our fiat currency, our federal debt keeps raising because we have to pay them back plus interest. This has always been the way it is. Look at the market crashed, right?
Continuously pull money out of our asshole.
This is why they created the Federal Reserve, was because we had a crash. And they said, oh, we will stop a crash from ever happening again if you give us control of printing your currency. Screw the treasury. Screw having a gold standard. All that. You don't need that. Give it to us. And for the first 20 years, we still had the gold and silver standard while we gave a private bank the rights to issue our currency. And as a private bank does, when they hand you a loan, even if you're a fucking government, there is interest to pay on that loan. So every dollar that they print has interest on it. That is why our national debt never goes down, ever. It's only raised ever since 1933. It's only gone up.
Can you tell me what inflation is then?
Inflation is when they keep printing more money, thus making the value of that money worth less.
Wait.
But
Hang on.
In a system of fiat currency, inflation is bound to happen because fiat paper is worthless. It's only worth what the bank says it's worth today. And if tomorrow the bank says your money is worth nothing, it's worth nothing. There's nothing backing that money but their work.
Oh my God, the Gish Gallop. Come on. So you just said that when they print the money, it makes the debt. And then I asked what inflation is, and you said that's what happens when they print the money. So just
we've never gone out of inflation. We've never gone out of inflation. We're trying to avoid hyperinflation.
What is inflation? Inflation is when they print money. Well, I know you're gonna
as the more money go. Look at technically, like let's say back in the days when you actually had something backing, something tangible backing the currency. When they would print money, there's only
right now. Which we do right now.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't have a gold standard. We don't have a silver standard.
I didn't say we had a gold standard or a silver standard.
There's nothing backing our currency but their word. It's fiat. Fiat is money that's not backed by anything.
Negative.
Not negative. Fiat currency is not backed by anything but somebody's word. But the guarantee. The guarantor is saying it's worth something. But if the guarantor changes their mind,
that's the same thing. All money is guaranteed.
Dollars back in, say, 1930, a dollar bill back in 1930 said on the bottom of it that, this was worth this much in gold. It said it right on the dollar. Now it says Federal Reserve note. Why is that gone? Because there's nothing that substantiates this dollar. Now, if you want to know what actual inflation is, let me go back to the point that when we had a gold standard,
what do you mean there's nothing that substantiates it? It has a whole corporeal being that substantiates it.
Yeah, you just explained.
It has people's
how
words.
It does have something backing.
Look at
it doesn't have a physical commodity back.
The Confederacy had their own dollars too, right? And their dollars were fiat too. And when the Confederacy busted, their money was worthless. So the people who had all this millions in Confederate dollars were fucking broke.
How would that be different than a giant gold burning fire that evaporates all the gold in a gold standard system?
Well, gold doesn't burn in fire.
That's not the point.
Well, sure it does if it's hot enough. What fucking gold's invincible now? Just imagine a fire hot enough that the gold evaporates. What happens to that country? Because what you're saying is that one of them is different.
Yeah, okay, you're highly
one of them is physical.
Scenario.
Well, sure. I mean, who the fuck cares why?
Fiat money is currency that the government has declared to be legal tender, but is not backed by a physical commodity. Do you understand that? There's nothing tangible that backs you. Because you're gonna say no, and you're not fucking right, dude.
I am
like look up the definition. Look up the definition. Understand what tangible.
Here comes the mute button because you just fucking scream and gish gallop. Listen, Erin, I keep saying that it is not backed by physical commodities, which is the definition you just read me. Like, oh, fuck, how brilliant is that? You just repeated what I said, like it makes me wrong. I've been telling you all along. It's not backed by a physical commodity. It is backed. In fact, you explained that as well. It's backed by the word of the corporation or the government or whatever system you want to label it as. It's backed by that establishment. So they don't have the gold as a physical commodity, but they do have their word. And their word is a thing. And I can prove their word is a thing.
Whose word are we talking here? The establishment's word?
Of the given country, yeah, of whoever. I mean, because like in the case of the euro, right? It's not like, oh, well, the euro is backed by England, right? The euro is backed by the European Union, but
they have a great word. I really trust that word.
I
trust the word of the Federal Reserve and the DC establishment. Is that the word that we're talking about here?
Well, you kind of do, actually. You do.
They have a shitty track record with their word.
I apparently can't unmute Erin. Uh-oh. What have I done?
Oh, you've done it now.
Oh wait, it came back. There it goes. Okay. No, you do trust their word implicitly because
no, you do, and tomorrow they can break it, which they have many times.
We all do. We all trust their word. It's how Here's the thing.
Oh, you mean we have no choice but to
Yeah,
trust
we have
their
no
word.
choice. Exactly. That's a lot different than we just trust their word. We have no choice.
Well, that's a distinction with no difference.
Not really.
Well, sure it is. You trust their word.
It's why people
don't
are
have
going
a
to
choice.
cryptocurrency, Ross. They're going to cryptocurrency for that
Yeah,
very
well,
reason.
I mean,
know
something
what?
tangible like gold is worth a lot more than somebody's word, the establishment's word.
Yeah, people that had gold actually, when the 2008 crash happened, made a lot of fucking money because that gold skyrocketed. That's the beauty of fiat currency. Is fiat currency crashes, which it always does, gold rises immensely because gold will always be valuable. Gold will always be worth something.
That's not
Are you
correct.
guys? Can you guys hear me on my end? I'm on the treadmill. Is it making noise?
Yeah.
I can
No.
hear you, right? I mean, that's partially true. Historically, gold has been valuable. I mean, at first it was shiny, and then it was useful for semiconductors and for electronics. But there could very easily come the day where we just don't value gold very much. For example, we might figure out some way to manufacture gold, similar to how we do a lot of stuff with CZs now. So the value of diamonds has gone
even
down.
still, the value of diamonds is totally contrived, and it's always been contrived. Not really a good example.
Oh, so is gold. So is gold, though.
No, because
It's not like
gold
gold
is
is
actually
inherently
limited.
valuable.
Diamonds are all over the place. There's more diamonds than there are emeralds,
Gold's all over
rubies,
the
or
place.
sapphires, but diamonds are always going to be considered worth more
no,
because the people invested in
no,
diamonds wanted to make us think that they were worth
Unless
more.
something is contrived, that's meaningless. Contrived,
Yeah.
everything. It's contrived.
There are warehouses across the planet stuffed with diamonds. They keep them locked away so people think that it's a limited resource.
Well,
And
the
at the
use
same
of
time,
metal.
now they have people making them in the labs, and the lab-made ones are never going to be worth the same as the legit ones. Regardless if it's an emerald, a ruby, a diamond, a sapphire, the ones made in the lab are not worth the same as the real ones. Any jeweler will tell you that. They'll try to make you buy it. They'll try to tell you, oh, no, it's the exact same thing. But on the market, the value is different.
Yeah,
Well,
the
sure.
value of oil is not contrived. Value of metal is not contrived.
Sure it is.
There's a real. Well, I'm saying, like, if the world ended tomorrow, the metal would still have value. Our money as paper it would just be paper.
No, everything would continue to have a value proportionate to how useful it is.
When Zimbabwe went into hyperinflation and they had $1 trillion notes.
Well, so for example, let's say that some kind of massive society collapsing event were to happen tomorrow morning. It just completely wrecks the entire planet. We're cast into the Stone Age. High quality diamond dust for industrial machinery would not be worth jack all because we have no ability to use it. It's not going to help us at all to have a bunch of fucking dust, diamond dust just lying in piles, or like ceramic grinding plates that you need like 3-phase electricity to even run the machinery. It's just not worth anything anymore. What will be worth things are pliable materials, building materials, food, water, consumables, survival supplies. Those are the kind of things that would then have value.
Yeah, we would go back into a barter system. I mean, that's a given.
Well, oh yeah, but that's a side point.
Right now, people are trying to do that right now because they don't trust the fiat currency.
Oh fuck! Don't divert. I'm not talking about.
That is what you're talking about, dude. It'll end up going back to a barter system, which is the whole point of money in the first place, was to create some kind of base level to say, well, your amount of wood is worth their amount of carrots.
Thanks for telling me where I'm going with my argument, but would you like to know where I'm actually going with my argument, or would you like to just debate for me?
Yeah, let me finish.
With yourself, I'll just leave. I mean, I don't need to be here if you're going to fucking tell me
whatever. I'm not the one muting you. So bro. It is the barter system, what you're talking about, though.
I did not get into the economics of it. I was talking about the value of objects.
What is the economics?
The fact that we would more than likely get into a barter system for a short period is irrelevant. I mean, it's true.
What is the economics of it other than the value of things? What's the value have to do with anything? That is the economics. I mean,
what? That doesn't even make any
sense.
What
the fuck are we talking about now? I'm not word salad shit. We are talking about the economics, dude. You're trying to avoid completely going into the barter system, and then you gotta fucking yell at me about saying that you're going into the barter system, talking about we'll go back to valuing food and water and actual tangible things like wood. Like, yeah, that's the barter system, bro. And fucking skills, people who can do things. That's like, yeah, no shit.
Is that what I think?
And eventually, gold will always be worth something. There'll never come a day where it's like, oh, gold is worthless.
Really?
Always
That is
beautiful.
super interesting. Gold will always be worth something. Always, you say. That is incredible.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe sometime in 5,000 fucking years, maybe. Within our lifetime, it will be worth something.
It's been worth something for thousands of years.
Yeah, it's
Kings
been worth
and queens
something
all
for a
this
long
time.
fucking time. That's why those pharaohs got buried with so much of it. Because, it was worthless.
This is
That is an incredible straw man. I'm
Well,
really,
okay.
I'm really
It's not a
fascinated.
straw man because you didn't say that.
Straw man to
It's not a fucking straw man.
Finish. Let Ross finish.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, I mean, this is wild, absolutely wild. I mean, just take a moment to realize you've now derailed for 8 minutes because you wanted to interject that we'd go to a barter system, which wasn't even part of the point. It's not even where I was going. It doesn't. No,
It was what you were describing. It
No,
was
it's
what
not.
you
No,
were
it's not.
describing.
Don't tell
Okay,
me.
what would you call it? What would you call it then, Ross? We no longer go by
Ross.
gold. We no longer go by paper currency. We go by food and water. What would you call that?
No, let him make
Just
his point.
explain to me what you would call that.
it was what Ross was describing, therefore it was the point. That's what I heard.
What was he describing? Was it not the fucking barter system?
It doesn't have to be.
Holy shit.
It doesn't have to be.
Holy fucking shit.
It doesn't have to be at
The
all.
description was the
all.
nuance.
Here,
The
let me-
description was
Yeah,
the
unless we're
nuance.
gonna all be self-sufficient, which more likely is not gonna happen because there's always gonna be people who aren't.
Oh my fucking Lord, Erin, for Christ's sake. All you're doing is gish galloping and then asking questions and then
Gish-galloping.
shouting when I'm trying to answer it. You don't even give me a chance to answer and you just bombard. Yeah, you know
No
what
chance
gish
to
gallop's
answer.
called?
Give me a fucking chance to answer.
Yeah, you're
Whatever.
not. You're
Go right the
not.
fuck ahead. Go right the fuck ahead. Because you're right. You weren't talking about the barter system. You're totally fucking right.
Here,
Oh, by the way, when I said fiat currency is backed by nothing but the government's fucking word, nothing tangible,
I
I was
agree with.
wrong on that point.
which I agreed
No,
with.
you didn't. You
which
said
I
wrong.
fucking
You said
agreed
no and
with.
wrong is exactly what the fuck you said.
No, I did not.
Okay,
What
but
would
we
you
will
say?
rewind this and we will rewatch it, and then you will hear yourself say it the moment I said that.
This is why is
And
this?
then I will get your apology.
Why?
You know what you will hear, Erin,
Why
because I
all the
was very,
hostility. But why the hostility though? That's my
what I was very careful about, because I was listening very carefully because I knew you would miss it, was you were saying that fiat currency is not backed. And I said that's not true.
No, you cut me off. I said it's not backed by anything tangible except for the government's word. And then you said, wrong.
What I was pointing out when I was attempting to correct you was
Which
that,
I didn't need correction.
oh, thanks for that. You did need correction because
No, I fucking didn't. And then you wonder why I'm hostile.
once
No,
again,
I fucking didn't. Because if you didn't fucking cut me off saying wrong, you would
if
have
I
heard me
didn't
say,
cut you
buy
off,
nothing tangible. Buy nothing
What
fucking tangible.
is
Oh,
what
I'm
is
sorry,
right?
Ross. You had to
You're
reiterate that
correct.
nothing tangible means nothing physical in the commodities. Like, are you fucking kidding me? But when I reiterate that you're talking about the barter system, you want to yet again come at me.
I'm
Come
not
on, bro.
talking about the barter system. I
No,
still
you're talking
am
about
not.
when we go back
You don't
to
know what
water
I'm talking
and
about.
food and material goods.
That's not even what I fucking said. I didn't say we
Man,
would go.
I just want to thank this live stream for teaching me that real life is actually still worse than Twitter.
Right? I'm fucking blown away. I'm almost speechless.
No, you go right back to your point, Ross. No gold, because it got
No, I
burnt in
can't.
some giant fucking fire. No fiat
Don't let
currency
me go
because we
back
used
to
it to
my
wipe our
point
fucking
on
ass.
my screen.
What are we going back to?
No, you're still gonna cut me off. Okay. How about this? You just let me know when you're done, and I can have 3 fucking minutes without you interrupting, because it's now been 12 since you derailed, and I haven't been able to say
Oh,
shit.
not derailed. Fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah, you
Go ahead
fucking
and make your
derailed.
goddamn point. No, I fucking didn't,
You-
bitch.
You watch value
No,
on
I
this.
fucking didn't. No, I fucking didn't.
You did. You know how I know you did?
It's a lie.
I know you did, because I wasn't fucking talking about bartering yet somehow.
Well, what the fuck were you talking about then, Gilligan? You were talking about when we go back to fucking resources such as food and water and material goods. What the fuck were you talking about then, Ross? There's no more fucking paper currency. There's no more gold because it was burnt in a big fire. So what the fuck were you talking about? Oh, I'm sorry. We're not talking about economics in Ross's mind. We're talking about something totally different. You fucking kidding me?
Beautiful straw man. Beautiful straw man. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. I love it. I love it.
Fucking
You're
ass.
such a fantastic.
Straw man my fucking ass, bro. Straw man my ass.
It is a straw man. It is a straw man. And if you could shut up for a fucking couple minutes.
You don't even know what the fuck you said.
I know exactly what I've said. I know exactly what I've said. Because I've been sitting here thinking about how to continue where I left off for 13 fucking minutes.
And every time I say go right back to where you fucking were, you just want, oh, you want to keep talking? You want to keep talking? Go right back to
you do this.
Go right back to your non-barter system. Go right back to it. Go right back to it, bro. Go right back to it. Go back to it then.
Why are you yelling at me?
Look at you. Go back to it.
Why are you yelling at me if you want me to
I don't know about anyone else, but for me, it's insanely difficult to hold an actual end goal point in your mind while someone is like continuously speaking at you.
Right?
No, that's just me.
Yeah, and trying to figure out how you're going to further elaborate, because clearly they missed something, because they're now telling you what you think, and it's not what you fucking think, nor what you said, nor what you meant, nor what anyone else who takes the time to listen carefully would think.
No, because food and water, material goods have nothing to fucking do with anything. Fuck you, Ross. Fuck you. Really. For real. Because, like, if you're going to sit here and try to bullshit and say that what you were talking about isn't the fucking barter system, you're out your goddamn fucking mind. We're not talking economics. We're talking about gold. We're talking about fiat currency, but we're not talking economics. Are you fucking for real? You want to bring up inflation, but we're not talking economics. Are you fucking kidding yourself?
There you go.
Are you fucking because you're full of shit, dude. You're so full of shit, and then you want to use things like word salad and jibber jabber, but you won't fucking sit there and say what you were actually fucking saying.
I would love to.
Then go fucking say it, bro.
Then why are you yelling over me? Let me fucking talk. Jesus Christ! If I can't talk, how can I say anything? This seems pretty simple. But you come in and you fucking unload.
You keep saying the same shit, right?
Yeah, you come in for minutes at a time to do this. Look, you're interjecting. Why are you interjecting if you want me to explain myself?
Because maybe you should
just let him. Hold on, Aaron. Just let him finish.
Yeah. How about let me talk?
Let him make his point.
Yeah. Because what I need to do is I need to go back far enough that you understand how wrong you are. So I got to go all the way back.
No, you don't, bro, because I wasn't fucking wrong at all.
Christ. Here we go.
And if you want to keep saying that shit, then I'm not going to stop. No, because you fucking started off by saying how wrong I was, by saying that you were talking about the barter system is full of fucking shit. Also, you wanted to say how wrong I was when I fucking said fiat currency was backed by nothing.
Yeah.
But hey, whatever, bro.
Because you did.
Yeah.
You did. You said it was backed by nothing.
The government's word is something. That's tangible.
It is something.
That's something you can hold on to.
It's
tangible. You can put it in your pocket. You can put it in your pocket. Yeah, because it's tangible.
Well, the government's word isn't shit.
No, it is. It's something. It's tangible. You can build. It's wonderful. Tomorrow, when they change their fucking mind, oh well, then it'll be worth something else, I guess.
I can prove that wrong. I mean, since we just can't stay on the topic, I can. It's super simple. Here's how I can prove
the government's word is worth something. It's all the same fucking time.
Wait. Hold on. The government, quote unquote, changing their fucking mind is no less improbable of a scenario than what Ross dreamed up about the gold standard.
Exactly. I was trying to get that
analogy. The giant fire that burns all the gold on the fucking planet. That dream. Yeah. The government changing its mind is equal to Ross saying a giant fire going to burn all the fucking gold.
That was a hypothetical.
Listen, it's totally equivalent. It
is. Yeah, it's completely equivalent. But here, let me just really quickly prove that, yes, the government's word is worth something. It's actually really simple. Countries with fiat currency participating in currency exchange with countries that have commodity standards. Done.
Who has commodity standards?
It's proven.
Who has commodity standards?
So I need to go look up, like,
who has commodity standards?
And like an example of anyone on the gold standard, for example. Let's see. Who's on the gold standard? We'll do. Aaron's Googling. Who is on the gold standard? Let's find somebody. We'll find somebody here.
Anyone even still on the gold standard?
My best bet would try Switzerland, possibly England, but I'm pretty sure neither one of them are.
Everyone's on the internet standard.
On the internet standard?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm on the internet standard.
I mean, I did hear Gaddafi wanted to have Africa. He wanted to have an African Union and put.
But I am on the internet standard.
Gaddafi wanted to put the African Union on a gold standard before he was so eloquently taken out.
Yeah, that definitely happened.
the
That
gold
definitely
dinar.
happened.
Let's see. England.
Yeah, we were on the Rothschild standard.
Rothschild
Yeah,
standard.
like most every country.
God forbid.
I mean, they own most of the national banks. There's a list
They
you can look up.
own
It's like,
all of the central banks.
yeah, pretty much all of them.
Every country with a central bank is on fiat currency.
It is what it is, guys. We just have to do it.
Tons of them are. I mean, tons of them are. But the fact of the matter is.
Tons of them, like who? Who's still on the gold standard that we trade with?
No! Oh my fucking God. I was just agreeing with you that tons of them are on the fiat currency. You want to fight so bad. You want to think I'm wrong so bad.
No,
You
not really. I'm not
Well,
the one
exactly.
telling you you're wrong. You were the one telling me I was wrong repeatedly.
You were wrong.
Man.
You were wrong.
Still haven't proved me wrong though, but you can keep saying that.
Well, you told me what I think. So I'm
I
kind of
told you what you
referring.
think by reiterating the point that what you
No.
were talking about is the barter system. That when we get rid of the fucking money, like paper currency and gold and diamonds and things
Whoa,
like that,
whoa. I didn't say get rid of gold.
barter standard.
I didn't say get rid of gold. I
You
didn't
said
say
it was
get
going
rid
to go up in a big
Hold on.
fucking fire.
of- See, look, you're telling me what I think.
Let's not go back to the barter system.
What you think? It's not what you think. It's what you fucking said, and I laughed at you for it.
There's no such thing as not the barter system.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. In a very technical sense. I mean, you barter with the money, right? The money is a surrogate. But yeah, I mean, technically everything's a barter. Sure.
So there's no so even uttering the phrase "go back to the barter system" is totally
Yeah, I
nonsense.
mean, I
Not
suppose-
really, because
I
the
know
money is the equilibrium that gets us
Yeah,
off the barter system, because the barter system goes back to just
Everything's
base things.
everything's a barter system. I mean, he's right, but I understand the distinction you're making. What you were trying to say is that without the fiat currency, all we'll have left is bartering goods for goods. There won't be.
Without the gold that you were going to burn in the giant fire.
Which, first off, that's the first part where you got mistaken. Is that was a
Yeah, we lost you for a second, Ross.
Oops, where did Russ go? That's not good.
Well, I did find a Business Insider article that said there's only one currency left still backed by gold. Chile, well, you want some guesses for which country it is?
I said Switzerland, possibly, or England, the UK.
Just tell us.
Those
Mike.
are my guesses.
Just tell us.
Chile.
Chile? What? Chile?
Chile's the restaurant, not the.
there we go. Sorry, I just dropped out.
That's a nice capitalist one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chile. Oh, there's that video that dude flipping out on fucking David Rockefeller when he
Yeah, I was
landed
just
there,
about to
screaming at him and the Chilean president.
And
You're
they
a
were
traitor
like,
to our country.
get the fuck out of our country. We don't want you
We
here.
don't want
your
your
bullshit banks.
fiat currency. We don't want you here. Oh yeah, well that makes sense.
But this article was in 2012, so they might have taken it over since then. Who
Well,
knows?
they're not Venezuela.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I dropped out there. What I was saying is the example that
He was laughing, by the way.
the example that I was giving you, the hypothetical I was giving you about the gold vanishing, was to draw a parallel comparison to the idea of the government going away. Because what you had said immediately before that was
I
equivalent
didn't say
to
the government going away. I said them changing their minds, which technically not the government. It would be the bank. It would be the central bank changing its mind because they're the one printing the currency.
central authority. But no, what you had specifically said, and it's the reason that I worded the destruction of the money the way that I did, was because you had spoken as it being somehow the destruction or disappearance of their word. Not just like they decide it's not worth anything anymore, but somehow it actually goes away. Because you were trying to say that they could go away, whereas the gold can't just go away.
Like I used
even-
the example of the Confederate dollars and how they were all of a sudden worth nothing, like legit
Yeah,
worth nothing.
I think yeah, it's something like that, where you were saying like it can just go
But
away.
that is very true.
I have a question
They were honestly legit worth nothing like the very next day.
Right.
I have a question for Erin. Erin, what is your ultimate concern? Like, what are you worried is going to happen?
What I'm worried is going to happen already is happening. My ultimate concern is everyday fucking life. I mean, the cost of bread, the cost of milk,
but that's like
rising. You know why it keeps rising? Because of inflation. Why does inflation constantly happen? Like I said, because we have fiat currency that is backed by nothing tangible. They intentionally tricked us and manipulate us to get rid of the gold standard by manipulating the gold market.
Therefore what? Therefore what?
Therefore, we are controllable. Did you ever hear the phrase, give me control of a nation's currency and I care not who sits on the throne?
And what should I do about that?
Well, there's nothing you can do personally.
Well, that's why people are trying their best to get away from this system.
Wait,
that's
Mike.
Why cryptocurrency has come up.
What you just said, Michael, was pathetic in my opinion.
Well, I mean, you as an individual, you can't do it. I mean, it takes like the entire country rising up.
As self-sufficient as you can become.
No, I understand the past dictates the future. Individuals can't do anything, right, Ross? Right?
Well, I mean, to make a change like that, you can't just go, oh, well, I'm just going to change it. I mean, you can, as a collective.
You can make the change in your own life and
as a collective, we can rise up as one nation and say, you know, we demand to get rid of the Federal Reserve.
So you don't agree with yourself?
Like
I mean, we have done this in the past, though, Blake. This is not the first time we've had a central bank. This is not the first time in our country's history that they've tried to do this. Unfortunately, this time it succeeded. And it succeeded because they were a little smarter this time around. They realized the errors of their mistake in the past and why it didn't work. And they fixed it.
But you know how to do their job, right?
I know how to do their job. Their job is not a fucking useful job. I don't know why people think banks are this useful thing, why we all got tricked into thinking that people who actually make massive money off of doing nothing and creating nothing are useful in our society. That blows my fucking mind.
I have to stop you there because banks are definitely a useful thing. I swear to God, banks are very useful.
Depending on how they run their shit.
What's useful about a bank?
Banks.
Well, hang on.
Everything is inherently needs to be done well in order to be good, but
what's good about a bank?
That's irrelevant to the institution.
Well, I mean, like the financial institutions like Goldman Sachs, yeah, those are just cancer. I mean, your local bank has some use, but
no, they're not just cancer. They're a financial institution within it.
Yeah, but your local Chase Bank is part of the JP Morgan Chase Manhattan, which is a much bigger thing.
To my knowledge, all financial institutions have a legitimate purpose.
What's the purpose? What's the use?
The whole difference between if it's a good financial institution or a bad financial institution.
Like the ones we bailed out that didn't go away?
The individual morality of the employees of that.
They don't have morality, though, dude. They're bankers. They make something from fucking nothing. They charge you interest.
That's not true. That's not true.
Really? What are they making, Ross?
Banks?
Ask those questions again. I was ignoring you to listen to my best friend.
Well, she's saying that banks don't make anything for anyone. They're just leeches, essentially. And that's not true.
How is it not true?
Once again, it's actually
let me explain it. Let me explain it because it was my point originally. Banks are very important because they protect our money because we're weak and we don't.
Our money, the fiat currency that they tricked us into taking.
We don't actually have the
power. It's actually their money. Do you know that your bank doesn't have any of your money in it?
We don't.
Only 10%?
In the marketplace, in the natural marketplace of criminality versus legality, we, on average, one citizen does not have sufficient power to defend thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. That is the
what are you fucking merchandise? What are you talking about?
That's a useful service that the bank provides. I mean, keeping your money safe, but there's all this other stuff that they're doing.
Your bank only has to hold 10% of your money in there. So if you give a bank $1,000, they only have 100 of it in their fucking vault.
No, but the point is they have the stronghold and the man with the guns that protect the money. And the men with the unlimited money that guarantee your money.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people who used to keep their money in their house with their own guns, protecting their money.
But that's the point. That's what they do for us.
So you don't trust yourself to protect your own money?
Not as much as I trust
And you don't see something wrong with that.
No, that's actually really good. That's an amazing.
Fuck that.
That's
No,
well, if
I'm
that's
sorry, I
if
trust
that's
myself
all,
better than I trust some random person.
if that's all they did, then it would be fine. But
Yeah, I mean,
the banks
You
and
know what a run is? When a run on the
No,
bank
you guys just aren't.
Yeah, but now you're
you're going off into a different topic.
You're not.
No, I'm making a point. When you know what a run on the bank
that's
is.
not a point. That just opens up.
Do you know what a run on the bank is?
Of course, we know what a run on the bank is. It's when
what is it?
It's when people take out more money than they have physically on hand.
No, it's not when people take out more money. It's when everybody at once they all have their money in this bank, and they all decide they want to take their money out of that bank. And the beauty of it is the bank doesn't have that money, so the bank has to shut their doors.
What a tragedy! It's called tragedy, and it's the same thing as a random hypothetical. It's totally
random hypothetical. Do you understand how the crash of 2008 happened?
It's happened. It's happened. Runs on banks have happened. Like, they haven't happened recently, but they've happened. I just told you what a run on the bank was. You said no, and then repeated my shit back to me. Almost.
Well, I'm sorry if I couldn't hear you all the fucking way.
Well, no, I mean, it's not like I was even a little bit off. You basically repeated back to me. You said, no, that's not what it is. And then you repeated my own definition back to me. I said a run on the bank is when people withdraw more money than the site has physically available. They're not able to process all of the withdrawals.
Well, now where's the problem in this? Explain. Did you not see the issue with that? You put savings in a bank, and then you go to take out your savings, and the bank doesn't have your savings, and you don't see a problem with that.
Absolutely not.
And everyone has a complaint. Everyone has a complaint, but the bottom line is not everyone has a gun and a stronghold.
Well, that's another point. But no, there's actually a necessity for that. Even for a moral banking system, a perfectly benevolent banking system.
Tell me a time when we've had a moral banking system.
Well, I don't need to. I'm not saying that we do. I'm saying even in a.
Well, you guys are the ones defending the necessity of banks, so I would hope that we've had a moral banking system for you to defend the necessity of them.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're sufficiently moral, but they've certainly done.
Well, why would you trust them and their men with guns to have your money in their stronghold?
Because they do have it.
When they could just lock the doors and say, "Hey, we don't have your money. Sorry, you created a run, and we don't have the money anymore. Oh, sorry, but our man with a gun isn't going to let you in."
Well, that's not true. That's not. It's not like, sorry, we just took your money. You don't have it anymore. It's about access. All of your money. It's not like they set your balance to zero and said, sorry, there was a run, your money's gone. What they're saying is, we don't have the physical money to hand to you. There's an availability issue. I mean, you understand the massive difference, right? Between not having it available.
Most currency now is going to digital. And most people use plastic cards. They don't even carry fucking actual paper currency because it's fiat.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
They're getting us away from it. So the run on the bank,
which completely destroys your whole concept of like.
No, because you can still do a run on the bank. You can still do a run on the bank.
What are you talking about?
Banks went belly up. Banks went belly up in 2008. Granted, they were small ones, like what the government-backed ones, Freddie Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or whatever. The big fuckers, they got bailed out, right? They got bailed out when the run happened on them because they were too big to fail.
Do you know why?
Because they just pretty much told the government they were too big to fail. And the government said, "Oh, okay, well, we'll write you a check with our citizens' tax money. Don't worry about it."
Because our system's corrupt.
Because Goldman Sachs has gone on TV multiple times and said that they fucking run our government, which is one of the reasons why I supported Trump, because Trump straight up said, I don't need their fucking money. That's why they don't like me, because they can't buy me, because I'm paying for this myself.
Well, okay, what were we going to say, Ross? Why?
Well, the reason that happened is because of the subprime lending market, and Fannie and Freddie actually insure these. They back those loans. So there's a regulatory process that was shit that allowed banks to lend money to
predatory
people that
lending.
Really shouldn't have it.
Predatory lending, because the banks didn't miss out. The banks got money from the insurance, and then they got the properties back.
Right, and to be, I guess, a little more generous back to them, the properties were oftentimes not worth what they were billed as. That was part of the problem.
Well, yeah, because they were not fixed mortgages; they were flexible mortgages, which is part of the predatory lending.
Oftentimes they were balloon payment. So people.
Hey, it's 400 this month. It's 4,000 next month.
Yeah, that kind of deal. And the reason that created such a problem wasn't because just because the banks were doing it. In fact, if the banks had been on their own, it wouldn't have happened because they're not going to stomach that kind of risk. The problem
they packaged it up and they gave it to their stockbroker friends in the commodities market to start selling it to other financial institutions and these securities and what the fuck else do they call them? These goddamn fucking terms that mean nothing. And it was just junk. It was like junk bonds.
Well, no, they all mean something, and it's a very specific something, and that's it
was a fucking scam, is what it was.
No, well, yeah, it was a scam. They were junk bonds. They were junk bonds. They were dirty fucking loans that they were selling to other banks, and every time they repackaged it and resold it to another institution, they added on a little more bonus to it.
Well, it's origination fees and things like that. So what happened though is that brought Fannie and Freddie down because they were backing these loans, and so it's kind of like if you had a situation where, like an insurance company, for example, like let's say auto insurance, right? Like everybody, at least in my state, has to have insurance. I think that's nationwide. So we all have insurance, and let's just say that tomorrow, all of us get in wrecks, all of us total our cars. Well, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, there's no way that the insurance company can pay for all of us to get new cars.
Yeah, right? But
it's a little different though with insurance, Ross, since most people don't have full collision. Most people only have liability.
No, it's not different at all. It's literally identical.
You do know that there are people who just have liability.
Let me finish. It is identical because the loans we're talking about that collapsed the banking system were insured. Fannie and Freddie were the insurance company. So you had literally, with the only difference being that it's somebody's house instead of somebody's car, you had them get totaled all at once. And that's what caused the big collapse.
And
is land not worth more than a car?
It was a plan though. Like from the start, I mean, they didn't, you say they fell, but they didn't. I mean, afterwards, the government just took over Fannie and Freddie. I mean, it's like,
it was a scheme.
Part public, part private, but
and all these banks that took part in it knew. But they knew that they were dirty loans. They knew that they were no good investments. They knew the whole
That is a side point. I don't know why you guys always, I mean, I'm sure
because this goes back to the value of banks.
No, it doesn't.
And what they actually are.
No. I mean,
no, of course not.
I mean,
well, good things besides all this.
Well, hold on.
History of them wrecking our fucking economy.
Hold on. I mean, you're talking about I'm
talking about two
naturally occurring situation with like, something destroys all the cars and then, everybody tries to collect and it just bankrupts them. I mean, that's unforeseen. But this was like an ongoing thing that they can't claim like, didn't see this one coming.
Yeah, but you can't call that like all banks, all bankers, all bank employees, like this whole big. No, there's certain people within banking, and there are certain amoral.
Well, yeah, the people running the show.
Yeah, of course. But I'm not defending them or saying anything. I mean, if you want to make the analogy more correct, I mean, I don't think it matters. But if you want to, then okay, you have you have insurance providers, you have insurance brokers. Those already exist today. Let's say they go around and they assist drivers, such as you and me, to kind of pad the application in certain ways so we get better premiums. And they know that this is going to create an unsustainable model, but they're getting commissions, right? I mean, that's essentially what we're talking about, is they know they're gaming the system. They know they're pushing it into a way that's unsustainable, but they're making personal profit by doing it. So ultimately, they don't give a fuck. And then when it collapses, they're fine because they already got their commission. I mean, that's essentially what happened with the banks. The only real
I think the main problem is the addition of the government. Because if they didn't, you probably got assurances that, hey, well, if this thing blows up, or when it blows up, rather, don't worry, we'll bail you out. And if that assurance was not on the table, they probably would have acted differently. They wouldn't have done this. And it's, it usually always comes back to government.
Yeah, well, and I would agree with that, but that also does, in some way, in a small way, but it does, in a way, absolve banking. Because, I mean, it can't be totally both of their fault, right? If it's somewhat the government's fault, then it's a little less banking's fault.
Well, they're in cahoots.
Well, what happened
when criminals and corrupt policemen go together?
That responsibility falls on all of us as well.
I don't.
Well, yeah, true.
I don't think that the government was exactly cheering this on. I think the government is a little more. There's that saying about don't attribute to malice, that which can be accounted for through incompetence. It's like don't assume that they're evil when they might just be really awful at.
I don't think that's the case.
They don't care, I think, is.
Yeah. They're probably.
And I'm not going to take culpability for what a bunch of billionaire bankers did. And at the end of the year, when they got bailed out, they got no.
I didn't say bankers. I'm talking about the government. I'm talking about the government people.
No, and I don't think it was the government's fault either. I think the government just kind of bent over because the banks are the ones in control, and the government knows it. Like I said, the Federal Reserve, which prints our fucking money, is a privately owned establishment. It's not part of our government. It's a bank. How many times does a chairman, every time a new chairman gets on, how many times do they have to say it? We're above the government.
Everyone has choice.
We don't have to answer to anybody.
If it seems like someone is bending over for someone, they're probably choosing.
What's that? Can you say it again?
It depends on who's in office.
What do you mean it depends on who's in office?
Yeah, it hasn't really depended for the past 70, since the Federal Reserve has been created.
85 years, it hasn't really mattered who was in office.
But it does seem to now.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, Trump is making headway. That's why I have hope for once. For the first time in like my entire lifetime that I can remember, I have fucking hope for our country.
Yeah, we're a long way from dismantling the banks, though. Trump can't. He's not a dictator.
Andrew Jackson.
I almost wish he was at some point. You know what, Goldman Sachs, you're out of here. And
I love the fact that he put Andrew Jackson behind the Oval Office desk, and everybody flipped out about it. They kept talking about how Andrew Jackson killed all the natives, and Andrew Jackson was a racist, And the truth was, he put Andrew Jackson behind his fucking desk because Andrew Jackson's famous last words were, "I killed the banks." Because we had a central bank then, and he fucking got rid of it. And he said it. "You are a den of vipers, and by God, I will rout you out." Like I said, this isn't the first time we've gone through this. It's the same fucking banking families, too. Like, it blows my mind that people just bend over. They're just like, no, banks are good. We need them. This is how far down we are. This is like, no, we don't need them. No, we don't need them.
We're talking, it's a big difference between a local bank.
Wait. Okay, so if you could defend that, then you could tell me an alternative.
Well, an alternative is, like I said, I keep my money to myself.
Yeah, well, make the distinction between like local banks and these massive financial institutions.
If I had too much money,
we could handle the small local banks as long as they were regulated properly.
Like I'm a big fan of cash. I'm a big fan of paying cash on the fucking barrel, as they used to say.
I'm just letting you know that if you ever have banks, you're also going to have bigger banks. It's just inevitable. That's
no shit.
Well, true.
That's why I said I'm a big fan of paying cash on the fucking barrel. I'm a big fan of like, if I want to buy something, I want to have all the cash for what I want to buy because I don't want to finance. I don't want to have to go through a bank. I don't want to have to take out a loan.
But you can't do that.
Sure, I can. Sure, I can. I could save up my money. I could stuff it in my mattress, so to speak.
You can't.
Why couldn't I?
You can't stuff $280,000 under your mattress.
You know how small $280,000 actually is?
Yeah, well,
when you have it in hundreds.
I think in terms of practicality, Ross is saying
it's not small when it's not small.
Hang on. Yeah,
it's not small when someone robs you for it. That's when it's not small.
Well, how are they going to rob me for it?
Well, they could.
If you have $200,
they could rob the house. They could rob the bank too. That's what the fucking bailout was, right? The banks fucking were bailing.
No.
That was totally different. That wasn't that the banks totally fucked up and lost all this money and need to be bailed out. That wasn't it at all.
Erin, could you just quickly quantify for me the difference? Could you quickly quantify for me the difference between the difficulty of assaulting your abode versus assaulting PNC? Could you just quickly
Considering how they did it digitally, like I said, through compounding all these shitty loans that they knew were shitty the moment they made the loans, and they knew they were shitty the moment they packaged them, and then when they all went up in flames and they were busted, they had to be bailed out at the end of the day.
Hold on.
Why did they have to be bailed out?
Hold on.
No, of course not. The banks didn't have to be bailed out. They didn't get a check for $14 trillion. That's imaginary.
We all
never
know
fucking
that.
happened.
We know that.
No, never happened. Forget it. Never happened.
We know that happened.
Total wrong thing. That's not the same thing at all.
That.
That's not the banks losing money. Yeah, because thievery is not you losing money. That what they did was not losing money. You're right. Totally not the same thing.
Yeah, that obviously happened. It was
right because an individual with a gun and a mask on is not the same fucking. Because that wasn't involved.
In terms, we're talking practical terms of everyday life of people needing somewhere to store their money, going, vacationing or going out of town, and they need some sort of access to their money when not have to be able to drag their money with them everywhere they go.
Yeah.
Going to a different spot and okay, well, yeah, I just use this bank. I don't think there's really a perfect solution because there's so much potential for corruption when it comes to banks.
That's why we accept the existence of the imperfect solution that we actually have.
You accept that existence. I don't, but you do. I'm forced to because so many people think like you.
Well, if you're forced to, then you do.
No, I'm forced to because, like I said, everybody in the fucking world thinks this way, and they shouldn't. Historically, it's been proven that this is faulty thinking, and we're just insane for keep trying to do the same fucking thing over and over again, thinking this time it'll work out.
Not true.
Erin, I'm very sorry, but
yeah, you're right. It's worked out. It's worked out many times before.
There is no such thing as red pill. There is just two.
Everything is dropping in price. I mean, everything's falling down to reasonable prices. Like our dollar is worth today what it was worth in 1910. I could get the same amount of stuff that I could get in 1910 with $1. Right?
What? What do you even argue? Are you trying to say inflation doesn't exist now? What are you trying to say?
No, I'm saying inflation exists because that's the way the banking system is set up.
Inflation will exist
because you wanted to argue. That was the very first point you wanted to argue with me is the fact that our dollars don't have debt attached to them.
Let me tell you what inflation.
That printing a dollar doesn't increase the debt.
Inflation is the fact that life increases upon itself, and so
that's the most bullshit statement I've ever heard.
Actually, I think it's true.
I think it's bullshit.
But I think it's true.
Markets are inherent.
Really, because there was like easily.
Hey, be quiet for
75 years in this country that didn't happen.
Be quiet for a second. Markets are inherently expanding concepts. Inherent.
Markets, stock markets.
All markets.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Inflation. Well, inflation happens when they print more money.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Which they do on a daily basis.
But wait.
I mean, the more money you put into it, and I don't mean replacing money. I mean printing more.
Yeah,
they just keep doing that.
But if you do that and it increases the debt, then it doesn't cause inflation.
Does our debt ever go down?
Yeah, right.
Huh?
Has the cost of bread, milk, eggs, have these things gone back to reasonable prices? Like, do you know what you used to be able to buy for $1 in 1912?
That's called
compared to what you can buy for $1 today.
Mm-hmm. That's called inflation.
That's called inflation. Like, you just accept this. Like, yeah, it just naturally rises all the time. Do you understand that it didn't rise for like 75 years?
Look.
Do you know some of the reasons that it?
Do you understand that now? Do you understand that?
Because our treasury went back to having the right to print the currency instead of a private fucking bank.
Do you understand that now we're living in the future compared to back then?
Yes.
That's the difference.
Right.
It's different now. The future's always different.
Well, but every time they print more money, it devalues the money that you have.
There's always more people in the world.
Not if it increases.
And they're increasingly getting better at competing relative to how much we were succeeding earlier in our history, which was way the fuck more than everyone else back then.
So I guess to answer a couple questions, because there's a fuck ton. There's probably 30 hours of produced content I could make about all the things that I've tried to say. reducing the debt. Yeah, wasn't Clinton? Didn't Bill Clinton reduce the debt like 2 or 3 of his years, or maybe
No,
even more?
he just
No, he got rid of the deficit. The deficit is not the debt.
It just that was another liberal trick. Where it's just
How is
like
the
he
deficit-
didn't have a deficit for 1 year and then said, "Oh yeah, I left the office with a surplus."
No,
That
would
be true, though.
some respect for that. I think he probably tried pretty hard to do some good economic things for the United States. I think he also tried his very hardest to rip everyone off that he possibly could. But
yeah,
that's a separate issue.
You mean fuck everything he possibly could?
That, yeah.
Maybe, yeah. I think that once again, if you're saying that he balanced the budget or created a surplus even for 1 year, but did not reduce the debt, that would just be the conscious decision not to make a payment toward the debt. It's not that we couldn't. It's not that debt will always rise. It's that we chose not to pay part of our debt. I mean, if you have extra money, you should pay down the national debt. Now, maybe in my not checking every little detail, we had the money and decided not to put it toward the debt. We should have.
Well,
we could have.
That's the
and where to go?
Argument
what do we do?
Throw out there. They act like, oh yeah, Clinton totally left office with a surplus, and they act like, oh yeah, there was no debt when he left, and then Bush came in and raised it. He raised it a bunch, but that's kind of the bullshit argument.
Yeah, that's the bullshit part. But I just mean, like, didn't the national debt shrink even by $1? Even by $1, didn't it shrink at least one of the years he was in office? That's what balancing the budget would do. Is it means you can pay all your stuff, which would include like interest payments, for example, toward the national debt, principal payments, and there was money left over. Otherwise, it'd kind of be like saying, yeah, I saved a bunch of money this month by not paying my mortgage. I mean, that wouldn't fly.
I'm looking up a list.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure that unless we got fake news all the way back in the 90s, he balanced the budget. And what they mean by balanced the budget is that there was some form of surplus.
What do you mean, unless we got fake news? We've always been fake news, man. I promise.
Well, fake news in that, like, it's not even true he balanced the budget. Like, he didn't even go in, like, run in the black, even though they give him credit for it, even after all this time, and there's no, like, mainstream Republican that's ever really refuted it. And it's like everyone just accepted it. I think he actually balanced the budget for a period of time in there. Like right here. So I'm looking, this is
I think he did.
Factcheck.org, but it does say the debt the government owes to the public decreased for a while under Clinton, but the debt was by no means erased. And that's probably tying into what you're getting at, where they make it sound like he erased it, like he paid off the debt, and then Bush came in and it like jumped to like 3 trillion or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like Bush did it. And that's not true. It was already fucking massive, but under Clinton,
it is true that
it went down, and then under Bush it went back up. And
it is true that Bush chose to have some war.
It didn't go up as much as it's gone up since Obama.
Yeah, but
it went up insanely under Bush,
and now
compared to previous years, and then it doubled under Obama, and Lord knows what would have happened under Hillary.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is pretty clear too. This is factcheck.org. I guess we can trust him on something like this. I don't see any refutations. And
I'll just go to Wikipedia.
This is 10 years old, but what they say is that in the article, they should have made clear the difference between the federal deficit and the federal debt. A deficit occurs when the government takes in less money than it spends in a given year.
Yeah, that's the year. Yeah, that's the year.
The debt is the total amount the government
owes. The accumulative. That's every year that it builds up. And if you have a deficit, which most years are deficit.
Come on. You're going to cut me off while I'm reading an article. Come on. Can I talk? For
Just
fuck's
saying
sake.
what it is. It just builds up every year. It's cumulative. If you have a deficit every year, it adds up. And most years are deficit years.
Yeah.
Having one or two surplus years.
And now that I can continue, so the debt goes up in any year where the given amount of the debt goes up in any given year by the amount of the deficit, or it decreases by the amount of any surplus. Right? We all agree with that. If there's a deficit, then that year is bad. If there's a surplus, then that year is good. And the debt is the running total. So we've been going bad for a long time.
Speaking of which,
yeah, and then you got two different debts.
Wait. Speaking of that sort of thing, this whole live stream is no longer feeling profitable for me. I'd rather be watching some television with my friends. So, good night and sweet dreams, everyone.
All right, take care, Blake.
Good night.
Night, Blake.
So
there's also two different types of debt.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking the public debt. But then there's also the government debt.
I'm talking the federal debt.
Under Clinton,
the federal debt is the debt held by the public. That's the federal.
I'm looking at Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Under Clinton, it doesn't appear to have gone down.
No, it's just a little bit. When you look at the overall, it's not.
It didn't. It is pretty stable throughout the Clinton years, but there is another chart here. I'm not quite sure. You probably maybe know what this means. It says
right when Obama got in, that's when it started skyrocketing.
Debt
to GDP ratio went up in Clinton under Clinton Bill.
Yeah,
because of NAFTA.
But all the other years.
Well, so the issue, though, the point here is that yes, the debt can go down. It has. It's not this cement claim that the debt only and can only and will always go up.
Well,
now it is true.
Gone up.
I mean, it basically always goes up, but it's not. I mean, it's important to understand the difference between something that does happen and something that must happen. I mean, if the debt always must go up, then we don't even need to worry about the fact it goes up. It's just something that's going to happen. It'd be kind of like panicking that we're heading into the ice age when, like we're already halfway into the ice age and we're past that tipping point and there's nothing we can do anyway. Well, then we probably just need to invest in fucking warmer houses and thicker clothes because it's way too late to change it. Do you
see this here?
Yeah, let me throw that up.
These are the Clinton years. It's in the green.
Yeah.
As opposed to these. I'm not exactly sure what that means, though.
So that's the change in the debt to GDP ratio, though.
Yeah, because let's see, go down.
But that affects it. The GDP.
Yeah, this is by year, 2010, and this is
2010 and back.
Yeah, federal debt number in billions, and then here's the Clinton years. It's pretty
not looking
steady.
Too sharp. I mean, 2000 there.
I mean, pretty good considering Bush and then Obama.
Which column is it again? In percent? Multiple percents there, but which ones?
Here's the federal.
Okay,
federal debt billions down here. And then the other one I was showing was right here.
So that change that was a negative couple percent, like the year 2000, for example, our debt went down. Which is only to say it is possible. So we can't just say, oh, the debt always goes up. I mean, it tends to, yes. But our decisions impact that because there's such thing as years where it does go down. So it's absolutely true that the debt has gone down before. It's still at record highs. It's probably higher now than it ever was.
Yeah, it's higher now than it was.
In terms of dollar amount, it didn't really ever go down in the last since.
That's it. It's like our dollar just keeps decreasing regardless. Like I said, the cost of staples,
1977.
The cost of staples keep going up.
Yeah, well, that's true.
It's just not like, oh, well, we're in the future, so that's just how it is. No, that's not just how it is. That's you passively accepting your money.
Yeah, I'm not seeing a single year in which
you passively accept your money being worth less, and it's going to cost you more to get things like land, which is a commodity. That's something that you actually want.
Yeah, but inflation isn't inherently bad. And having money, I mean, if anything, think about this. What would happen if tomorrow we both double every hourly employee and every, I don't know, like middle management and down salary employee. We double their wages and we overnight double the amount of money that exists in the system.
Then everything would correlate with that, and they would all double, if not triple, their prices.
Right. So basically, the people affected don't get affected, right? Like the people you think would be affected.
But that's how it always. The top never gets affected.
Yeah, well, but they do, because what just happened? The rich people have just as much money. They have just as many dollars, right?
If you think the Rothschilds are running around with a bunch of dollars in their pockets,
don't you even go into massive deflection land. I'm not talking about
they're the top.
They don't have money. But don't bring up people you're saying don't have money to try to avoid the fact I'm talking about the people that do have money. I'm talking about the mega rich, but not the super uber mega Illuminati rich you want to talk about. Let's talk about
Illuminati. I'm coining that. I'm trademarking that right now.
The super rich still have land. So as your dollar decreases in value, your land increases in value.
Yes, I mean the tangible goods do, but what happened? But that's true of everybody.
Super rich also have lots of jewelry, lots of 24 karat gold, which is goddamn near impossible to buy in regular stores.
Why don't you answer the question? I'm asking what happens to their money.
And I'm telling you, their money. But that's what I'm trying to tell you, Ross, that the people that are super rich don't have shitloads of just paper currency.
Right, but we're talking about the other people.
Eventually end up being poor.
Yeah, the super uber rich are always going to be unaffected. But what are you saying about the? You said if the wages,
Trump's kids.
Yeah, if the wages went up and the what else did you say? The amount of money went up.
So inflation. Basically, if we just spiked the system with a massive load of inflation.
Hyperinflation.
And but not out of control, because hyperinflation is usually it's spiraling out of control. And so if you wait another month, it's even worse. You wait another month, it's even worse.
I think if you double everybody's wages, that the market will go along with that, and it will inadvertently cause hyperinflation.
Yeah. So what would be the point? Well, what would be the point if the money increased and the wages increased?
Well, the point that I'm making is that essentially, yes, the super ultra mega rich that we could focus on, they're basically unaffected. Because you're right. I mean, they have money. They have fuckloads of money in stocks and stuff like that would be affected. But they also have a lot of property and physical goods that wouldn't be affected. Because
ultimately unaffected.
Because basically, the value of the dollar would get cut in half, right? But then the dollar price on all their possessions would double, which means nothing happens.
Even the regular rich, it would be two groups. It would be the smart ones and the stupid ones. The stupid ones would probably go belly up because they were stupid. The smart ones would probably be buying things like cryptocurrency and as much gold and land as they can with what they have.
The stupid rich.
The stupid rich.
There are like 1913 or not 1913. Yeah, also there the 1912 panic, and again in 1928 or 29 when Black Tuesday hit. Right before the Great Depression hit, there was fucking rich ass stockbrokers killing themselves because
but if it happens overnight, it's not like they can go react to it.
No, but I mean,
too late.
A smart person, if you inherit or win the lotto and you end up with $1 million, a smart person who gets $1 million is going to invest it in other things to protect it. Whereas the stupid person is going to be buying fucking kegs of Cristal.
Sure.
So not all your eggs are in one basket.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Even
what the part that we haven't addressed yet is what happens to the money that just sits in banks and the money that is just stowed away and the money that's essentially not in play, right? The rich people that are hoarding. What happens to them?
As far as banks go, banks only have to hold 10% of what they have.
I don't care about physical money. No. I don't care about physical money. What I'm talking about is the fact that if you double essentially everyone's wages, but not these rich people, and you double the amount of the money in circulation, then basically nothing changed. Instead of $3 for a gallon of milk, you pay $6, but your job pays twice as much, so who the fuck cares? It doesn't affect you. It's just an
But
arbitrary
that's what I
number.
mean. When it comes to the market's not just going to double their price. They'll probably triple it.
Yeah, but then why do it?
That's not true. That's not true.
Yeah, it will, because they're paying their workers twice as much, so they have to make back more to still make profit. So they're not just going to double the prices. They're going to end up raising the prices even more because they know, well, we're paying our workers twice as much. That's how the market works.
It doesn't happen instantly.
It's not as clean as like, oh, well, we're paying them twice as much, so we're just going to raise everything twice as much.
Watching you desperately avoid the point that I'm trying to make is becoming really frustrating, because this is a thought experiment.
But why do it?
Point you're trying to make.
I mean, why do it though? If there's like, oh well, it doesn't mean anything. Nobody's affected. Then like, why?
No. Some people are affected. The rich people that are sitting on their money are affected because their bank accounts don't double.
Okay.
You just have the wealth of all the people that have like the tons of money and they're just sitting in banks. You just cut their wealth in half because they had $1 billion
Those are more likely well-off people.
And they have $1 billion today, but $1 billion is only worth $500 million compared to yesterday.
A billionaire is not keeping $1 billion on the books in a bank.
It's a thought experiment. It's just
a number. It's a bad one.
I say $1 million. It's not a bad one. You're just obtuse.
I'm not obtuse, dude. I'm sorry that I can pull up things that like totally disprove what you're trying to say. I just don't. That's why I said, what is the point you're trying to make? Because I don't see it as being logical.
1,000 millionaires. There's 1,000 different people, and they each have $1 million. Okay, will that work?
And you think they all have 1 million in the bank?
I'm talking about 1,000 people that do have $1 million in the bank. So yes.
Well, then they'd be considered consolidating the wealth, which has happened multiple times.
So you agree?
Consolidating the wealth has happened multiple times. Every time there's a market crash, consolidating the wealth happens, and the uber rich get richer, and the middle class disappears.
That's not what I'm describing. Or do you think the middle class would be people with literally 100,000 or $1 million, literally $1 million of cash in bank accounts? Is the middle class?
No.
I think
they sound maybe not middle class. They sound maybe a little on the high end, don't they?
All right, guys, I'm bouncing out.
All right, take care.
Hi, Michael. I think that the way that I'm describing it is like not like the technical middle class, like the people making only 75,000 a year.
You're saying like the people in
like that. I'm talking about in general of how the aspect of money is across the board. People that there are people on this planet that have billions. So a person with 1 million would technically be like middle compared to somebody who has only 20,000.
Sure.
20 billion. I mean, there's people that have fucking 500 billion. So 1 million is nothing to Mr. 500 billion. 1 million is poor.
I mean, you're talking about the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the.
So when I say middle class, I mean more like the middle ground. Okay. Yeah, it's high end to me. I'm sure it's high end to you too, but it's
there's still like the 1%.
There's still plenty of people who have a shitload more than that.
Well, how many people though, really? I mean, because what are we talking
about? Fucking Olsen twins are both worth fucking 200 million. Both. So, and these are just two fucking girls who have just been on TV since they were in diapers.
Sure. But like, let's see. I mean, we're talking about maybe, I don't know. I guess we could say 20 million people that have $1 million, potentially even have $1 million in a bank account. I mean, that's I'm looking, and it's like people with.
Well, like I said, the people that are a chump that are dumb enough to like, oh, I have $1 million, I'm putting all of it in the bank.
No, that's
those are the people that are asking for it.
Well, I'm not.
A crash will inevitably happen. They always fucking do. And that's when the wealth gets consolidated. That's when that middle ground, that those people that have that are gone. They end up going back down to my level. And then the people at the very top end up making a shitload more because they're the ones who own the banks.
Yeah, perhaps. I mean,
it's just like, when you look at the history of it, it's a corrupt system. It's always been a corrupt system, and we look like insane people because we keep just fucking trusting that, oh no, this time it'll work out. This time they promise, and it's never worked out. And every single time, and then you find out 50 fucking years later, after the people involved are old and dying or long dead, that they manipulated the entire situation. That the bust could have been completely avoided, but it wasn't. The panic could have been avoided, but it wasn't. And why? Because a few key men who knew that all they had to do was move a few things here and there, that they were going to cause a panic amongst their rich friends, because the rich friends are watching them. And then they say, oh my God, look what he's doing. I better do the same thing. And when they start doing it, then all of a sudden the rich guy behind the scenes starts doing the opposite. And he busts all of his friends, and he ends up with all of their wealth. I mean, excuse me for using such solid terms as all and every and always, but you get my point.
Sort of. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I think it's pretty oversimplified, and
you can look at what Nathan Rothschild did and how he got the Bank of England. That's the example, because that's the key example. They followed these guys' plan to the T in the last 100 years. This has been their fucking millennium, their century for sure. And that's exactly what he did. What I described is exactly what he did. England was at war with France. This is during the Napoleonic Wars. And he and his brothers were the first international bankers. While he was a banker in England of some esteem, House of Rothschild. They don't just give that to little shit mom and pop banks. And then his brother was in France, so his brother was, dealing with Napoleon. They had couriers, and their couriers were faster than the government couriers, faster than royalties couriers. And he found out that Napoleon lost before anybody else found out. So he quickly started selling English stock in English banks. And people saw him doing this. When they saw him doing this, they said, oh my God, England lost the war. So they all panicked, thinking that their bonds would be worthless the next day because England lost to Napoleon and soon England will be French. They started selling all theirs. And the moment the price dropped to like pennies on the dollar, he silently bought it all up. And in the morning, he owned the Bank of England.
Okay.
And this has happened multiple times. This happened during our crisis, during the last crisis, 2008, this happened. Where just certain people consolidate because other people panic. And they lose their money. Yeah, people who had 250, 500,000, maybe even $1 million, lost all their money. And they're on TV crying because they were only insured for a certain percentage while the banks were getting completely bailed out. They couldn't figure it out. Why'd this happen? What was me? And it's like, well, because you trusted in the banks. You trusted in the very people who created the panic.
No, because you're the answer. Because there's no realistic reason that you should store more than the FDIC limit in a single account, especially with how trivial it is to have multiple accounts. Is the answer. I mean, anybody that stores $1 million in a single bank account deserves to lose all but the 200,000 that is the limit. They deserve to lose that money. They're too fucking.
Well, back then that wasn't even the limit. They just raised the limit because of that.
I think 200,000. I mean, I'm pulling that number from like, I don't know, 92, like back when I was in school.
They raised it after.
I mean, whatever number it is, it can be a nickel. Open an account. Don't put more money than whatever the limit is in it. Open multiple accounts. If you're a millionaire, I think you can afford to have 3 or 4 bank accounts.
Yes, but technically having 1 million, I would say it's rough calling somebody a millionaire just because they have exactly 1 million.
Well, I'm talking about $1 million in the bank, so their net worth is probably more. I mean, they might live in debt, but they probably have a house that's worth, several $100,000. They probably have cars that total up several $100,000. I mean, if you have $1 million in the bank, then you're probably, again, unless you're just straddling yourself in debt, you're probably looking at a net worth of $2 or $3 million.
There's quite a few people out there, I'm sure, that are making $200,000 a year, but they're in debt $500,000.
Yeah, but they also don't have bank accounts with $1 million in it because they're cash flow negative. So they probably have a very small bank account. They have a lot of possessions. They have a high rate of cash flow, but they're actually running negative. If you have somebody that's accumulated $1 million in a bank account, it's a fairly safe bet that their net worth is significantly higher, because otherwise you're talking about somebody that has like they have maybe like a modest home and a full mortgage on it, so they're at 100% debt or 80% debt on the house, but they have $1 million cash in the bank. It's like, why not just pay off the house? Like, why would you live like that? Why would you have $1 million worth of debt floating around and $1 million cash in a bank account and then deal with all the interest payments? Why wouldn't you just,
so they could say they're a millionaire?
But why not do, well, but people use net worth anyway. So in that situation, they're not a millionaire. Their net worth is zero. I mean, to be a millionaire, you need a net worth of $1 million or more.
I don't think banks are a good idea. I would like to see, and I'm happy that cryptocurrency is taking off, because that's, to me, is people who think the same way I do.
But
who don't trust banks, who don't trust the currency, and they're going into another way.
Crypto and banks are completely separate issues. I mean, banks are not going to go away because crypto exists.
No, crypto came up though because people wanted to get out of this system, this fiat currency banking system.
They wanted to get out of any government controlled currency. The main reason that it blew up was back when Greece had their problem. There was a financial crisis in Greece. I think it was 2008, 2009.
Yeah, it was the same time. Germany called all the loans. Greece, Italy, Spain, and Ireland all had crashes because Germany called the loans.
Something like that. And the Greek government, they had a statement. At one point, somebody within their government made a statement, and it was a really fucked up thing that they kind of casually mentioned that they own the banks. So if they absolutely have to, they'll just essentially pillage people's bank accounts. They kind of said it arrogantly. They were like,
they were though. A couple, I want to say, God, not Cyprus, but one of the islands. They did. They the government started taking people's
right, and so
they started taking people's bank accounts.
So the Greek people were like, "Fuck that! We have to get it out of whatever they were using." They weren't on the euro yet, right?
Yes, no, they were. They were on the euro.
Were they? I thought that's what put them into the.
No, they were on the euro.
Okay. Well, at any rate,
all these countries they were like. It's funny because after this happened, both Italy and Greece were forced to open their doors to all those lovely migrants.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they were broke. They couldn't say no because they couldn't take the austerity.
Yeah. So at any rate, they were like, "Fuck, we have to get our money out of this." It wasn't about like, man, we got to be in crypto because we believe in no.
It was just the same thing. It was still getting away from a central bank. And by the way, the Central Bank of Europe, same people who own the Central Bank of America.
Not even central bank. No. These people were just concerned with not losing their money. They needed it in a form that the government couldn't take. And crypto was really good for that, because unless you're going to physically torture someone until they give you a password, you can't take it. It's not even a physical thing. So you can't even break into their house and take it at gunpoint, right? The only way you're taking it is if you can get passwords out of their brain. And you might be able to do that through like the threat of violence or torture or something like that. But you're not going to get much better at securing something than saying you'll have to torture it out of me. If it was money under the mattress, because people did that as well, right? They did cause a run on their bank because people started pulling the money out, so the government couldn't get it. But if the Greek government got desperate enough, they could have sent fucking armed officers door to door, raiding and flipping mattresses and taking the physical cash out of those houses. Right? I mean, they absolutely could have. And the only reason that they didn't was because there wasn't a fuckload of money in there, and they eventually figured something else out. But the concern, it wasn't about like, oh man, this crypto sure is cool and nice and convenient, and I don't like central banking. None of it was that. These people were trying to put their money in something the government couldn't take from them. And so they needed something that ideally was non-physical and non-traceable. And since Bitcoin is both of those things, it just exploded. And then it crashed shortly after, because once they got to the other side of the crisis, they found that it was fairly inconvenient still. So
the crash was not that drastic. I mean, it's risen
Well, there was kind of a bailout
Incrementally.
thing that happened on the one I'm thinking of, like, because there was a crisis, and they sucked, and the people sucked their money out, and the
Right.
banks were giving the money to the government, and they were literally throwing yogurt, which is apparently a thing they do there when they're protesting, is throw yogurt at like their officials.
Gross.
So they were doing that. They were doing that whole thing, and then I want to say that somehow the EU kind of came in and I don't know if bailout's the right word, but I thought that they kind of did something. They like somehow the EU came in and they kind of got a band-aid on it, and then people calmed down, and within whatever it was, within 6 months, they had essentially sold all the Bitcoin back for euros, and they were basically back to normal. I mean, sure, there's still some Bitcoin.
I don't think everybody sold it all back. I'm pretty sure some people held on to it. Bitcoin has never fully crashed. And the price of Bitcoin now compared to what it was then,
I'm not saying all. I'm not saying all, and every last one of them sold every last Bitcoin, but they I mean, we're talking like 90% converted 99% back to euros. It's not like they have a dual currency system there now where Bitcoin's accepted.
No, of course not. But it's the same thing here. It's not like crypto is going to fucking be accepted by the federal government. They want people to go back to the dollar.
Yeah, well, the federal government.
They'll do everything they can. They'll do everything they can because they do what the banks tell them. They'll still do everything they can in their power to get people away from crypto. But that's what I mean. That's the beauty of crypto, is that it is getting away from that system. Because people can see that it is a corrupt system.
I mean, I guess some people are lured. I guess some are lured to that. I mean, I'm not going to say that that's not a factor, but I don't think that that's the driving factor, because at the end of the day, it too is fiat currency. I mean, if at least you'll be flexible enough to say like, okay, well, by like, if you'll accept the collective of the people and not like a government backing it, right? It's the people's word.
No, you're true. It is a fiat currency. I mean, like I said, I personally would rather go back to a gold and silver standard because that's a limited resource. You can't mass produce gold coins and silver coins because there's only so much.
Yeah, but there is a crash potential on that too. I mean, if we get back to a previous subject, historically it's only been crashed
by money manipulators.
Yeah, but
those who had a lot who could manipulate it to trick the rest of the people, who could trick governments into thinking it wasn't a good idea to have it.
But what happens if a meteor, an asteroid, right, like this asteroid the size of Alaska, comes soaring by, and we realize, hey, we could put some solar sails on that thing and slow it down, and harvest it or whatever. I mean, yeah, it's going to cost some money, but if you had a gold nugget the size of Alaska, I think it would do something to your gold standard money. Like if one country was on the gold standard at that point, they'd be fucked because the value of gold would down to like
a meteor the size of Alaska. You want to put sails on it. So where's this gold nugget come into play?
No, I'm saying like meteor asteroid of gold. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason it couldn't.
Well, this is highly hypothetical.
Well, I mean, versus what?
We're mining gold. I mean, gold's not falling from the sky.
But it can. I mean, gold's just an element, and
but the odds of it falling from the sky are highly improbable.
Yeah, but okay, so it's a hypothetical, but it's not like it's a far-fetched hypothetical.
Well, let's work in the realm of reality. It is far-fetched because I don't know if it ever happened. When they find meteor rocks, they're not made of gold.
But there's all kinds of elements in them. I mean,
yeah, all kinds of elements. Gold is usually not one of them. If gold is in there, it's like in dust form. It's not.
But do you know why there's not gold in them?
But that doesn't matter to the point of what we're talking about, though. Well, whether or not, if I know why there's not gold in meteors.
Yeah, it's highly relevant, because the only reason there's not a meteor made of gold is because the star that processed that had its is it fusion reaction? Fusion's when they climb the periodic table, right?
Either which case, this goes back to the point that there's limited gold on this planet, which is my point.
But that's what I'm saying, is that you're assuming.
And you're saying let a meteor fall out of the sky, which is the odds of a meteor of solid gold falling out of the sky.
Odds? Why would you care about
odds? I do, because I want to work in the realm of reality, because that's what I'm talking. I'm talking the realm of reality.
Do you know what the odds are of life on Earth? I mean, come on. Think just because
We
something
are like on Earth.
Exactly. But what were the odds? Incredibly slim. Yet we met them, right? It's not like the odds were 1 out of 1. It's not like it was a guaranteed inevitability, which would necessarily mean planets
Ross,
like
if
us
you
also
could
have
show
life
me
on.
a fucking time where they found meteor rocks that were solid gold, I will concede that it's probable. But like I said, it's highly unlikely. The probability is like
It's likely, hypothetical. But you're trying to say, oh, it's such an absurd hypothetical. It
is an absurd hypothetical.
No, it's not.
Just like your bonfire that's going to melt all the gold. That's an absurd hypothetical.
It's just
no, it's not regular.
It's
totally
not regular hypothetical.
Saying somebody is going to manipulate the gold, that's a regular hypothetical because that's actually happened.
How do you manipulate the gold?
Like I said, the people who have consolidated enough wealth at the time when we had a gold standard were able to manipulate gold markets. I mean, gold shouldn't even be, like, I don't trust stock markets. That's all part of the manipulation, is having commodities like that where people are buying and selling them, and they don't even have to buy, like now they don't even have to actually buy and sell the commodities like they used to 500 years ago. No, they can just buy and sell paper that supposedly represents the commodities, and they can make as much of this paper as they want, which causes these bubbles, which, yeah, ends up fucking with the actual value of the commodity.
So here's an article from September 2011, BBC News, where they're explaining that meteorites bombarded Earth around 3.9 billion years ago, carrying precious metals, gold being one of them. We've done the math on the naturally occurring gold based on the iron composition within our core, and it only makes up 1/1000th of the gold that we see. And the only surviving theory at this point is that golden meteorites previously showered us.
Okay, well, and if that happens again, we really wouldn't have to worry about money.
No,
because we'll be too concerned about protecting ourselves.
Look at you dodging.
How am I dodging? If a shitload of meteors fell from the sky, we have to be more concerned about protecting our life.
Understand hypothetical thought experiments at all? What do you mean? How are you dodging? Because you're diving into all the logistic reasons that you don't want to address the point.
If meteors fell from the sky, we're going to have to care about the fucking currency.
Say fell from the sky. Didn't say fell from the sky, and you're clearly dodging the hypothetical.
No, meteors popped up from the ocean, because that's where meteors come from.
It doesn't have to fall from the sky. My analogy, my hypothetical.
Was that a meteor the size of Alaska that's solid gold?
Yep, an asteroid. An asteroid.
Fell. Which would kill the gold market. And if something that big came
No. Did not fall. I was very careful because obviously if you drop
then how would it
golden asteroid,
amount of gold on Earth if it didn't fall?
Oh my fucking God. My fucking God. How do you do
How
that?
are we making coins out of it? Right? Because that's how we
What?
Because when we use gold currency, we make gold coins. That's what gold currency is. It's gold coins.
Gold currency is gold coins. Gold standard money is not made of gold. Gold standard money isn't made of gold. You realize the paper is not made out of gold, right? Like for example, the paper money you talked about previously that said
when you do the IOUs, but historically it was gold coins. I mean, there are still gold coins. You can purchase gold coins from mint houses.
Sure, absolutely. But you have already talked about the paper
because that's
money.
How they were trying to get us. By that point, by 1930, they were trying to get us off of the gold standard.
No, they had a plan. It's because the gold standard is about backing the money with gold. Now, it is incidentally convenient to make the coins out of gold, because if you have to back it anyway, there is an argument to be made that why store it and then give someone a piece of paper, when you could just mint it. But that only gets as far as coins get, because coins actually begin to become too heavy. They become cumbersome. Paper works. And even to a greater extent, the digital number in your bank account that says how much gold you're owed works, right? You don't need the physical gold. That's the gold standard.
We go back to the gold nugget theory. And your gold nugget's not coming into the earth. How would it affect the gold that is on the earth? Because what I said, it wasn't falling.
Right. Exactly. Here, let me say it again. An asteroid the size of Alaska, made of gold, comes into our observable sky near Earth. It will not collide with Earth. I was very careful about that because obviously if you drop a fucking Alaskan-sized asteroid on Earth, we have problems. It comes by Earth, and we say we could put some solar sails on it to slow it down. We could lock it into orbit with us, and we could harvest it. And I even said it'll be pretty expensive to go up there and collect all this shit, but holy fuck, are we going to get a lot of gold?
And in your
Because what they're gonna
hypothetical,
do-
one part gets fucked up and the whole plan goes to shit, and the asteroid hits Earth.
What?
Like this is
But
some
see,
this is some
what I'm talking
fucking
about.
crazy hypothetical that
No,
you're trying to create.
This, my
Yeah,
God,
that is
this is
crazy
what you don't
hypothetical.
get. This is what you don't get about hypotheticals.
That in your mind, your hypothetical is 100% legit, and there would be no problems.
It
I
is
gotta
by
take it just
definition.
it.
It is by definition. That's what makes it a hypothetical. Is you get to say the things that may not be likely happen. Now what? So you don't get to go back and say, well, the things that we're assuming did work out won't work out. Therefore, I don't have to address the hypothetical. That is called a dodge, because you're pretending the things that lead to the
It's not called
hypothetical
a dodge
just
because
don't
even your nugget is not going to add that much fucking gold.
You don't
You think
think you don't think an asteroid the size of Alaska made of gold is going to add that much gold?
No, compared to the amount of people.
An asteroid the size of Alaska?
Yeah, and we have a lot more people today than we did ever before. So just more people would have gold. So you'll just have some inflation. You'll just have some inflation.
Inflation? No.
Yeah, inflation.
No.
Now there's more gold.
You'll have what we might call a crash on the gold standard money.
Okay, but we can keep printing dollars all we want, and we don't have a crash on those. We just have inflation.
No, that's my point. I don't think you get this. This is
no, I really don't, because we print trillions of dollars. There's no crash happening unless they create the crash, and even then,
right,
it bounces right back because of the fiat system. Well, but your gold nugget theory will create this super crash, and then gold will be completely worthless in the morning. We'll be fucked.
No.
So where are you going with your point, Ross?
You have been saying that similar to in the South, when very rapidly the money became worthless, right?
That was fiat currency.
And it was fiat currency, exactly. And you were saying that can't happen with money that's backed by a commodity. Right?
No,
you believe that can't happen because there's the commodity behind it.
No, the commodities have been manipulated. I have said that, and they've been manipulated. Now we know historically by the people at the top.
Yes. Sure, aside from manipulation.
And the reason why they manipulated it was to get us away from it so they can keep it all to themselves and put us on bullshit fiat currency that they can manipulate even easier.
Yeah, but that's side whatever. I don't care why they did it. We're talking about can it happen. Okay, so they can manipulate it, but we'll just say that other than that, you're saying that fiat money can essentially lose all of its value overnight because of some kind of event. And the nice thing about
the country
gold
losing
standard money, yeah, like a country losing a war, and the country loses the war, and then the speculative industry behind that country says our money's worth jack shit now, and because there's no consumer faith in their currency, it goes away basically instantly.
Or
right?
They have to say, hail our new overlords who come in and conquer our
but
country.
But the money's really not doing good, right? Especially if the country that conquered you uses a different currency, your currency's probably going away. Or at least that's what the speculative market would say. So your money becomes worth jack shit, and there's no commodity behind it. So your argument is that
people who don't have commodities are fucked. People who don't have land or gold or any other commodity will be fucked because all they have is paper currency, and then they'll end up being toilet paper.
But if you're on the gold standard, you would be less fucked because your money's backed by gold.
I'm talking about going back, like I said, the legit gold standard gold coins. I don't mean with the paper currency that represents it. I'm talking actual gold coins.
Sure. Let's go all the way to there. So you're saying that if instead a country, right? Like, so, because if you're in America and that happened, right? Germany and their fucking Muskrat invasion come over here and they just fucking wipe us out like overnight. The US dollar is going to just crumble, right? Because it's fiat money.
Yeah, they'd make us take the euro, I guess.
Yeah, or whatever. But the U.S. dollar would be fucked. And you're saying that if instead you were in, I don't know, Switzerland, and they're on the gold standard, and Germany went and invaded them overnight, then you wouldn't be fucked. Or not gold standard, but like literal gold, right? Like you actually.
If Germany invaded them and they lost the war, then Germany would have their gold.
Well, but the people would have the gold, right? Like in a pure gold economy, like
as long as the people can defend themselves.
Sure.
I mean, that's like during Nazi Germany, they came in and they took all the valuable paintings and all the gold and silverware that people had in their homes.
Sure. So
but of course, what was the first thing they took? The very first thing they took was the guns. Make sure you couldn't protect your assets.
Sure. So essentially, we're saying that the fiat money could kind of vanish. The gold standard money could even kind of vanish because they could go like pillage the gold that backs your money. But like a pure gold exchange where you actually deal in gold, because it's a real tangible thing with real actual value to people, it doesn't matter what happens to like the government infrastructure around you. If you're in possession of the gold, then you're in possession of that value. So they can't really affect your buying power.
I'm sure you've heard of what the actual golden rule is.
Of what the what?
The actual golden rule.
The actual golden rule?
Yeah, see, there's the golden rule that we all know, right? You know, to do unto others as others would have done to you, right? But then the actual golden rule, the one in our world, is he who has the gold gets to make the rules.
Sure.
You know that somewhere's out there is a vault that's just filled with gold bars. Not in this fucking country.
Right. So this ties into where I
mean, why would let's go just bear with me.
Yeah.
Somewhere's out there. There's a vault. I want to say it's in one of those little fucking city states in Germany.
Okay.
Technically isn't Germany because it's a city state, but whatever. Possibly the Vatican, maybe. You know, Vatican vaults been known to hold some kind of precious things. But all these gold bars, you know, they're all stamped. They all have the Rothschild stamp on them. Why would they collect all this gold? Why are they sitting on all these gold bars? Well, yeah, you know, in 1933, when FDR made the law that we were going to paper currency, we were getting off the gold standard, he also issued an order that anyone who was found withholding gold coins, would be arrested. Everybody was forced to turn in their gold currency by law.
It was purchased. It wasn't commandeered. It was purchased.
They were still forced to let the government purchase it.
Well, right. I just mean the difference between straight out theft and like.
Yeah, well, when you're told if you don't let us buy it, we're going to put you in prison.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just trying to understand. I'm not making a moral judgment here.
I'm just saying they did. Okay, and then if you can remember, I think it was the 90s, there was an article, and everybody in America seemed to be shocked when they found out Fort Knox had no gold in it, and they all wanted to know, where did our gold go? And that's when it started hitting people to start investigating this. Like, well, wait a minute, I thought we had gold. Where did our gold go? And then they found out, well, we have fiat currency. Our treasury doesn't print our money. We have no need for gold because our money isn't backed by gold. And that gold just disappeared. Like, this has happened in Europe. Like, the guy in Belgium, I pissed him off. Like, we got a huge fight over this because he swore to God that he still had a treasury. Like, a legit treasury because he lived in a kingdom. And that their money was gold and silver. And I had to show him, no, euro is fiat. Yeah. The moment you guys became part of the European Union and you changed from the Belgian franc to the euro, you gave up your treasury. You gave up your gold and silver. And he was fucking pissed because he thought his money was actual valuable metal instead of just, what is it, like zinc, nickel, iron, or some bullshit fucking mix. And he was pissed. You know, it's like the same problem we have today. Our pennies used to be copper. You could still find copper pennies. They're solid green, you know, unless they're kept in good condition, nice and shiny. But all of our pennies nowadays are zinc. They're this zinc mix and the value of the penny is worth more than the metal that it's printed on. So it's actually been a debt to us to keep printing pennies.
Well, that's only rational though. Otherwise,
but copper is not cheap. Yeah,
which is the point.
Like if we were still making them out of copper, they would have more value.
Well, that's the point, though. That's intentional. That's a good thing.
But that's the whole thing is intentional. I don't think it's a good thing. I think going back to precious metals is a good thing.
It has to be a good thing.
It had to, so people at the top can manipulate it easily.
No. You have to, because unless you go whole bird, like you can't just have your pennies be worth more than a penny. Like you can't make your penny out of copper if it is more than 1 cent worth of copper in the penny, or everyone will just melt their pennies down and make money. It just literally won't work. It will be gone in a week.
It would stabilize the penny, though. You print the penny to the size of what it's worth in the copper you're printing it on, and it stabilizes the penny. That penny will always be worth a penny because it's this much copper.
No, that's not how it works, though, because the value of the copper will change. It'll go up and down. I mean, this even
currency.
No, this
That's
even happens
away from copper pennies.
No,
the same reason they got us away from silver dimes.
No. It's because the value of copper, it's just a supply and demand thing. It's about the usefulness of copper. And so if copper becomes more useful, then the value of copper goes up. And the only way that you can say a penny will always be worth 1 cent worth of copper, and it's made out of copper, it's made out of 1 cent worth of copper, is if your entire financial system is calibrated to move with the value of copper. Otherwise, you would even have issues with your nickels being made out of silver and your pennies being made out of copper when things like certain quarries discover more silver than they expected or less copper than they expected. You would even see shifts where pennies melted down become worth more than a penny, or where exchanging your nickels for pennies can make money and things like that. There becomes currency manipulation within the system. Because you can't ever have both a specific weight of copper and a specific fixed value of that weight, because the supply of the copper will change, and that necessarily changes the value of it, right? It's a supply-demand thing.
Yeah, when it comes down to that, though, if that's the issue, then you just change the size of the penny.
Yeah, but you can't reclaim the existing pennies and shave them off.
Why not? They reclaim money all the time.
Because it will take longer than the volatility of the market. I mean, how long do you think it would take to commandeer everyone's pennies and reissue new pennies that are a different size?
Well, I think they'd only have to commandeer a certain percentage.
Well, you'd have to do it basically constantly.
And then they would have to adjust for people who have the different ones. Like when they turn them in, they would end up getting more than a penny for it.
Everyone would have different ones. It would be such an unmanageable clusterfuck.
They managed to collect all the gold coins. That was done fairly simply. So I'm pretty sure they could manage to do all it was one big time. They got all the gold and.
But you realize the value of copper changes,
right? Kennedy wanted to go back to the silver, but then he got shot in the head. His executive order still stands. They've never enforced it, but it's still there. I think it's like 100001, something like that, to go back to the silver standard. And as a matter of fact, just to be so nice, the deep state, because they shot him in the head and everything like that. So that year that he died, 1963 and 1964, they issued silver quarters, which are still in circulation. And if you're stupid and you get one, you don't realize it, and you spend it as 25 cents. Well, that's your own fault for not realizing that you had silver. I mean, you can kind of feel it and hear it. It makes a totally different noise when you cling it against another coin.
So it looks like the cost of copper is updated every 4 hours. So you would need to reclaim all the pennies and reissue the pennies every 4 hours, or just have to accept the fact.
Or pennies, the fact of having pennies would stabilize the cost of copper over time.
How? It's a supply and demand thing.
I don't think
the
it's
only
a supply and demand thing. Copper is valuable. So copper was valuable 500 years ago. Copper is value. It was valuable fucking 1,000 years ago. It's copper. It's not like copper's gone out of fashion. The most expensive plumbing. We started this off talking about your plumbing. The most expensive plumbing to get is what? Right. Copper plumbing. The most expensive pots and pans to get are what? Copper pots and pans. This has always been the case. This hasn't changed.
Well, no, that hasn't been the case. I don't think copper plumbing was very valuable 3,000 years ago.
Well, they didn't have plumbing 3,000 years ago, but as far as plumbing goes, my dad was a plumber, okay? Like 100 years ago, people wanted copper plumbing, and they could have had lead instead, the cheap lead. Mm-hmm. If they could afford it, they go with copper. Nowadays, apparently, you cheap out and go with PVC.
Well, apparently, yeah. But still,
copper is still the creme de la creme when it comes to piping.
That's its value. It's valuable because it's useful. It's not arbitrarily valued.
But that's what I'm saying to you. It's not going to ever be useless. It's never going to be fucking. You're saying supply and demand. When will it be useless?
When will copper be useless? Well, I mean, there's tons of ways that it can become useless.
Expect it to become useless within our lifetime? For the next 100 years?
I don't expect it to, but my point is it's volatile and subject to change and has always changed and will continue to always change.
And my point is the volatility value things are because people manipulate their volatility. But just like how they control the volatility of diamonds.
But they're absolutely not.
I absolutely are. There are people in the fucking markets that can manipulate commodities. They totally can, and they do all the fucking time.
But you're attributing 100%.
You don't think the people who own the copper mines can't manipulate the markets?
I didn't say that. You're attributing.
But you're not taking this into your consideration. You're thinking that it just naturally happens, and that someday it's going to be worthless.
No, it's not at all. What I'm saying is that there is supply and demand. It will affect the market, and you are attributing 100% of the volatility to essentially market leader choice, we could call it. It's people manipulating is 100% of the reason for the volatility. And all I'm saying is if even a fraction of 1% of the volatility is because of supply and demand, then you're not right and I'm right. The question is, to what degree am I right? But unless it's 100%, what you're saying can't be true. Not only do I think that it is less than 100%, the people manipulating the system, but I think it's a significant percent, well into the area that volatility happens. And really, this is kind of a side point because the value of the copper is just one of the things. I mean, again, if that's why when you're on a gold standard, they typically still don't make the coins out of precious metals. They back it with the gold because that way
they stopped.
I know they did.
They wanted to get us used to paper currency.
Now you're attributing motive, and that's not true.
There's plenty of motive. You seem to think bankers are
attribute it though. You're telling me why they did it.
Decent human beings.
How do you know? Of course,
because that's important.
No, how do you know that's what they did?
People know this historically.
No, how do you know that that's why they wanted to do it? How do you know that's why they wanted to do it?
Because why else would they do it?
I just told you why they would do it.
It's the same reason why they're getting us used to plastic cards, so they can eventually just get rid of paper currency altogether.
Who's they? I mean, you're just attributing it to this like giant nebulous, unprovable, unfalsifiable.
Oh my God.
They just
the owners, the people who own the central bank, the actual bankers, the people who manipulated the markets, the people who have tricked us into the system we're in.
Tricked us. Yep. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sure.
Absolutely.
Read up on
it. Absolutely.
Read the Money Masters. Read The Creature from Jekyll Island. There's plenty of books. There's plenty of books that have been written within the last fucking 150 years about this. This isn't the first time it's happened. I don't get why you act like it's, sure, you're just making this up. Yeah. No, people don't manipulate anything. It's all natural. Eventually, copper's going to be worthless. There's no reason to ever go back to gold because paper is good for us. We can trust banks.
Oh, yeah, these are all things I've said. You just did a fantastic job naming maybe one thing that no, never mind. No, not even one thing. You almost named one thing that I said.
No, you didn't say anything like that. Nothing even close. Not even remotely close.
Well, what's funny is
You're
it is
too busy
close.
talking about meteors in the sky that are made of gold nuggets that we're going to keep orbiting so we can harvest them.
Yeah. Well, see, what's funny is you are repeating things that are close, and that's the problem. Is you're close, and then you miss the important part. So it sounds like what I've said is something that is incorrect and doesn't make any sense and won't fit.
Incorrect and doesn't make any sense. Ross, you've been saying that banks are a good thing.
No, I said banking is a good thing. Banking is vital. I don't think the banks.
It's not. The banks is banking.
Right. And then
banking.
hang on.
The banks for banking.
No, you don't just get to say this is the no.
Oh yeah, you're right. Because
you don't get to tell me.
Driving
Erin,
doesn't require cars.
Erin, you don't get to tell me that I don't get to make a distinction.
Between banking and the banks. The banks are the physical thing that do banking, which is the verb. Like I said, that's like saying you drive without vehicles. Like, the vehicles is what you fucking drive, dude. The banks are what do the banking. So if you're saying banking is a good thing, you are inadvertently saying banks are a good thing. You can't say the verb is a good thing, but the noun is just, well, no, you're just throwing that out there.
So if I say banking is a good thing, and clearly you don't know what I mean by banking because you think that it has to be synonymous with the institution known as banks, then you get to tell me that I can't make a distinction? Instead of asking me to make the distinction,
okay,
you just tell me I can't.
Go ahead, tell me.
Well, seriously, I think about that.
It has nothing to do with banks.
Did I say it has nothing to do with banks? Or did I say there's
tell me you're going to make a distinction, so let's hear it.
Well, which is it? Am I going to make a distinction, or do I have to prove to you that they have nothing to do with one another?
Make a distinction to separate the two of them, which would mean that they don't have anything to do with each other. That me pulling up banks was just fucking ridiculous. It was totally off topic.
Yeah, I mean, you understand that things that are required aren't always like it's not like a symbiotic requirement, right? It's not like
yeah, sure, we do banking.
If you have one, for example, banks could be one of the sources of banking.
One of.
Yeah, it could be
sources of banking,
right?
What are the other sources of banking? No, let's look at reality. What are the other sources of banking? Please tell me. Enlighten me.
Sure. If Erin, if you ever need to like borrow some money, like if your car gets fucked up or something, you need to borrow some money from me, I would be happy to lend you money. I'll give you a personal loan. If that's ever something that you need.
Me coming to you, a friend, and asking, can I borrow some money for a week is the same as banking.
That is banking. Yeah, like with a capital B.
Holy fucking shit, are you not stretching it?
No,
that's literally, as in like banking, as in like the institutions that are all over the fucking globe.
Hey, look, now you're telling me my definition.
The thing that we've been talking about. Ross doesn't make the currency.
Erin, why are you telling me my definitions?
Why are you telling me currency? Why are you telling me that you control currency? Why are you telling me that you're able to manipulate currency? Why are you telling me that you're the fucking stock market now? I mean, come on, tell me some more things.
What the fuck? What the fuck are you even on about?
What am I on about? Because the stock market and banks have nothing to do with banking, apparently.
What are you talking about? I just told you that something
can be included me money, personal loan from a friend, one friend to another, is banking.
Mm-hmm. It's a form of banking, yeah. It's called lending, which is part of banking. It's a banking practice.
And that's what we've been talking about, right, Ross? We've been talking about between two people, right? That's what we've been talking about? That's what this conversation is about?
Aren't we talking about the verb? Like you said.
Aren't we talking about more than just you loaning me money? Which
are we talking about the verb? Are we talking about the verb? Or are we talking about the noun? Are we talking about banks or are we talking about banking?
What have we been talking about? You're trying to be fucking smarmy and say all of a sudden that, oh no, banking means that between you and me. It's just between two of us.
You wanted me to give you
economics. We're not talking about banks. We're not talking about central banks. We're not talking about gold standard. We're talking about when you go to a friend and ask to borrow $10.
No, not $10. I mean, like I said, it'd be like something big.
Doesn't even fucking matter, dude. We're not talking about when I go to a friend and fucking try to get money. We're talking about the institution of banking, which is the institution of banking.
Now you are.
That's what we've been talking about, dude.
Aaron,
you're trying to pull it somewhere else to come back to
Aaron,
saying, hey,
no,
it's a good thing.
No, I'm
It's a good
holding
thing.
it down, and listen why.
Holding it down. Holding it down.
I'm
We were
holding
talking
it
about
down.
central banks, right?
Aaron, Aaron, no, we're not talking about
No,
central
Russ,
fucking banks.
we were.
You
When I said
asked
banking is a
me-
bad thing, and all the times I brought up these fucking points why banking is a bad thing, and all of a sudden you're gonna make it about, oh, two friends and I lend you $20. That's banking.
No. See, here's the problem. You think we've been talking about nothing but the giant giga international banking the whole time.
Yeah, that's what I've been fucking talking about.
Maybe you, but Blake and me and Michael,
Yeah,
we've all been talking about the little banks.
Asteroids of gold that you personally are harvesting to loan to your friends.
The entire time, the three of us have been talking about the little banks. And many times, all of us have
banks
clarified.
and try to say, in comparison to the big banks that I was talking about, that those might not be so bad. And then Blake even said, well, the little banks eventually become the big banks. So we've been talking about the fucking establishment of banking, not between two friends a fucking loan. You're trying to take it there to say, hey, but see, banking's a good thing because I'm talking about when I loan you $20. No, that's not what we're talking about at all.
I agree, but you can't fucking track the conversation. You know that you're penned. You're
I
so
can track the conversation, but you just want to try to go somewhere else with it. And there you go again. You're so wrong, Erin. You're so wrong, Erin. Okay, Ross, I'm so wrong. You're fucking super smart. You know everything there is to know. Banks suck. They really fucking do. You haven't proven to me that they don't. You haven't proven to me that there are people who manipulate the money. Give me a chance to. I have given you a chance to, and then you go off on some fucking tangent about goddamn meteors the size of fucking Alaska that we're gonna harvest. That's the fuck you go to. Every single time, Ross, I give you a chance. You go to some bullshit hypothetical that has nothing to do with what we're fucking talking about because it would never fucking happen. And then we go back to the fucking point. Then you go somewhere else and tell me how, oh no, banking doesn't refer to the institution. It refers to when I loan you money for a car.
The verb banking can refer to something.
But we weren't talking about that.
Yeah, we were.
No,
Fuck
we
you.
weren't. No, we weren't. We weren't. You brought that up to try to save the fact of you saying banking is a good thing.
You're getting muted because you won't shut the fuck up. You're going to listen. You said banking is a verb and banks are a noun. That was you. I asked if I had
and my original fucking point was that banks are bad.
You're not ready yet. I'm going to finish my thought. You made the distinction that there is banking the verb and there's banks the noun. And I very specifically asked you if I had to prove that they are totally not related.
Why did I make the fucking distinction, Ross?
Done yet. You're going to talk when I'm done talking. You're not going to interrupt me. If I have to fucking
make your bullshit point.
Okay. You made that distinction for me. You went out of your way, and I agree with it, that there is a difference between the verb of banking, which is the act of performing banking functions, and banks, which is like a big, and it's a big category. We could even talk about international banking versus like credit unions versus all the other things. These are nouns, though. These are the things that perform banking. You made all of those points, and I agree with all of those points. Then I asked you if you were going to force me to try to argue that they're somehow not related at all and there's no cross-section, or if I was going to be asked to make a distinction. Now, a distinction would mean that if you were going to draw it on paper, instead of banking being a circle inside of banks, like all banking happens by banks, that there's at least a little sliver. There's something else where maybe a not bank, as we talked about it,
yeah, and I'm sure you're going to write that fucking loan with a fucking interest rate between two friends, just like a bank would.
Yeah, if it was for a car, absolutely. And that was my point. Yeah, and that's why
a friend would go to a friend to fucking loan enough money to buy a car.
That's why I used it as an example. I don't know why you use this incredulity of examples like it's an argument.
Incredulity, because it's fucking, it is. It is unbelievable the bullshit you're pulling out to try to say that banks are a good thing.
Is it really unbelievable?
For me saying banks are not a good thing. Bankers are not good people. The whole system is fucked, and we're insane for keep trusting it. Now you're trying to pull it to, no, banking is a good thing because banking can be between you and me, which had nothing to do with anything we were talking about for the past 2 hours.
It actually has a ton to do about everything that everyone except you was talking about
No,
for the last
nobody
7
was
hours.
talking
Because
about
you
it.
keep going to the
Nobody.
giant one.
No.
Then why did Michael keep talking about the value of small banks? Why did we talk
All
about
he
money
did
under
was say
mattresses?
in comparison to the big banks. In comparison, because you wanted to bring up that banking was good. So he said, well, maybe if you're talking about your local bank.
This is going to be really fun to listen back to because Michael was very much on the side of, there's these small banks and they're fine and we need to separate these two.
And he's very much on
that's
the
what I've
side
been
of
doing.
the big banks are not good, which is what my original fucking point was going to.
And now you're trying to make me argue against that, but I don't disagree with that. I'm making a distinction. And you're saying, no, it's everything.
Because your
My
distinction
distinction
has
is
nothing
that
to do
banking
with
is a verb.
when I say
Banking's a verb. You agree, right? Banking is a verb. You don't now disagree with that. It's what you said. I agree with it. You still agree with it, right? Banking is a verb.
yes, but
It's like a set of actions that you do.
if a friend
right?
comes to me to borrow money, I don't call it banking.
Well, yeah, I mean, if it's like $20, because you keep kind of trying to jump to the simple example, like, oh yeah, we borrow $10 from friends.
My friends wouldn't come to me and ask me for fucking, hey, can I borrow $1,000? Who fuck friend does that? Hey, let me impose on our friendship $1,000.
What do you mean? Friends do that all the time.
None of my friends do that. I've never done that to any of my friends.
Well, that doesn't mean it doesn't happen, Erin. I don't know if you know this or not, but the world's a little bit bigger than your experience.
Friends would do that. Why would they impose that on their fucking friendship? That's just stupidity. That's like, well, I don't really value your friendship because more than likely I might not be able to pay you back, and oh, there goes our friendship.
Well, that is part of the risk. That is part of the risk. I mean, I've lent money to a friend. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of money. It was $1,000 that he needed to work on his car, and I actually got burned by it. So I mean, it does happen. It does happen. But I mean, just saying like it hasn't happened in your life experience, therefore I'm just going to exercise incredulity that it can't possibly happen anywhere. I've got news for you. It has happened in my life experience.
And what I say, those aren't actual friends, because an actual friend wouldn't impose that on their friend.
Why are you talking about actual friends versus not actual friends when I'm still talking about the verb of banking? What difference does it make if they're an actual friend? How does that fuck up?
Because in between two actions, did you put interest on your friend's loan that didn't get paid back to you? Did you write up a contract with him?
I did, yeah.
And so you took him to court and got your money?
No.
But that's what banking would do. That's how banking works. I mean, what's the point of the contract then? What's the point of the contract then if you're just going to rip it up?
Would do, more than likely. That is perhaps a function of banking. I mean, it's certainly an option.
Why would you write a contract up and put interest on a loan if when he didn't pay it, you weren't going to do anything about it?
Well, I mean, perhaps you've heard of like securities, right? Like where you do this up front.
You just said you got burned. He didn't do anything. So if you,
my
point goes to you. If you were going to do this, if you're going to write up a contract and put interest on a loan and say, hey, I want it by this date with this much interest on it, and you weren't going to do anything about it though, right? Because you got burned, so you didn't do anything about it. You didn't take him to court. You didn't say, here's my contract.
That's not true. I mean, you're playing a very black and white game here.
That's not true.
Which also doesn't matter.
Just fucking said it.
I said I got burned. It doesn't mean that I never got anything. I mean, you realize burned can mean I lost $20, or it could mean I got my money and lost the friendship. I mean, it could mean all kinds of things, right? It just means that it was not a pleasant transaction that I would choose to do again.
Which is why people usually don't play the role of a bank. I
totally agree. But
so let's go back to what I was actually talking about instead of you bringing up this.
So let's go back to the distinction.
It's between two people. Banking is between two people. That's why banking's a good thing.
Wait a minute. Isn't it literally based on that story we just finished? Isn't that banking?
According to the story we just finished, banking is a bad thing because you got burned. It wasn't a good experience and you would never do it again.
Well, actually, if you want to think about that story from his perspective, which would be our perspective in real life, it was a very good thing. Because he got a good deal because the bank did not enforce all of its legal abilities.
Yeah, that happens all the time in reality.
Hey, I don't give a fuck about reality. We're talking about the concept.
Of course you don't. You're talking about fucking asteroids the size of Alaska that we can harvest gold from.
I love that your incredulity is used like an excuse, that you don't need to actually
Ross,
think
throughout
about
this whole thing, you
the thought
keep pulling up hypotheticals that could never fucking happen. Your hypotheticals can never fucking happen. And then when you bring up a story about, you said banking is a good thing because if I loan you money for a car, then that's banking.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you bring up your own
It is.
personal story of you doing that and you getting
Right,
burned
and it
and
is.
saying you would never do it again, which
Hang on.
goes against the point of banking being a good thing. But
What?
I don't understand.
What? What?
Oh no, it's
You
a good
just
thing. It's a good
jumped-
thing.
you
because
just jumped
played
3
banker and got
times.
burned.
You just jumped 3 times because you just
No, I really
established-
fucking didn't.
You really
It's only a
fucking
jump to you because you can't keep up.
did. You can't keep up. You jumped across.
No, I really
subjects.
didn't. No, I didn't. How did I?
Why didn't
Banking's a
Why
good
didn't you say it
thing.
again calmly? Why don't
Banks
you say it
aren't a
again
good
calmly?
thing. Why would you say banking's a good thing? Because banks aren't a good thing. They perform banking. Well, no, banking can happen between two people. That's not what we're talking about, Ross. Oh, no, that's what we've been talking about the whole time. Just not you. No, I'm the one who brought it up. That's not what we're talking about.
So far,
you keep trying to bring it up. Doesn't
so
make the
far, I
point.
totally
Then you
agree.
bring up your own personal fucking story of you playing banker and how you got burned and would never do it again, which says banking isn't a good fucking thing. You just make my point and then turn around and say, well, from the perspective of the guy who ripped me off, it was a great thing. Because in reality, a bank would never just sit back and take it in the ass like I did. But hey, whatever. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, you know, when you completely butcher the story and jump around and pick your facts like
Butcher it.
that,
Yeah, I
it does
butchered
sound
it.
like you're
I
right.
totally butchered it. You're right.
You
I
did
totally
butcher it.
fucking butchered it.
You did
No,
totally
not
butcher
at
it.
all. Not at all. I
You don't get to
summarized
tell
it.
me you didn't
I
butcher it.
summarized the
Don't you
fuck
do it.
out of it. You couldn't fucking handle
No,
it?
you
That's
didn't.
what you said. That's what you
No, you
fucking said.
No.
You said you loaned some guy money. You got burned on it. You would never do it again. It was a bad experience for you. You're the one who played the banker. You're the one who loaned him the money. You're the one who wrote up a contract. You're the one who insisted this date with this interest. You're the one who did that. You're the one who got burned. You're the one who had the bad experience. You're the one who said you would never do it again. You're the one who played the banker. You're the one showing that banking is not a good fucking thing.
Hang on, Miss Rants-a-Lot. Jesus fuck. I didn't say I would never do it again. I said that I would not have done that. I would not do that transaction again, given the opportunity to go back. But as I previously told you, if you ever need to borrow some money from me for like a car or something like that, I would be willing to talk about that with you.
I would
I would.
never loan money from a friend because I would never impose that on my friendship.
Well, I appreciate that, but I am serious when I say that we could talk about that. I mean, I don't even know if I could help you. For all I know, I wouldn't have the money. But it's the fact of the matter is we could talk about that. But that in and of itself proves that I'm either just like such a massive hypocrite and I can't even, like, I have the memory of a goldfish. So I just went from saying I would never do it again, and on both sides of saying I would never do it again, offered to do it with you. Or it means that I was
Or you're insane and you'll just keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result just because it's with a different person.
Well, isn't it being with a different person not doing the same thing over and over again?
No, because human
people
nature is human nature.
I don't think so.
I do. I know plenty of people who have loaned money to their friends thinking they were going to pay back, and they didn't. To multiple fucking people. And at the end of the day, it comes out
that doesn't make it human nature.
Fucking friends because they asked to borrow money. Now, when it's just
Doesn't make
$20,
it human nature.
it's just a fucking drop in the bucket. It doesn't really matter. But if you're talking thousands of fucking dollars,
doesn't make it human nature. I mean, a lot changes. For one thing, I mean, we're talking about we were young. I was like, what was I? I was 19. He was 18 or 19. So he was young. I mean, I honestly, because that was not a good transaction. If he asked me to borrow money again, I would probably say no. But if someone from that same circle of friends, for example, so around the same age, but here we are, 15 years later or whatever, if one of those people from the same circle were to ask for the same kind of loan for the same kind of work under the same kind of circumstances, I certainly wouldn't just instantly say no. I mean, I'd look at it at the very least. I'd try to look at their situation and I'd weigh in things like how close we still are and things like that. But because I think that there's, for one thing, a difference between an 18-year-old kid with a part-time job, and at least the appearance of plenty of disposable income versus a guy that's maybe in his mid-30s. I think there's a bit of a difference there. And so I don't think it's insanity to say, oh, well, if one personal loan to an 18-year-old.
I think people that need $1,000 loan and they can't go to an actual financial institution to do it a legit way, to get that $1,000
Well, I mean, when
loan?
you're
That they
18,
have to come to you and do it?
when,
No, at
when you're
30.
18,
At 30. In their fucking 30s.
but see, now again, you're using incredulity. The point
No, I'm
that
not.
I'm
No, you brought up the man in his 30s coming to you, and I said if a man in his 30s has to come to you to borrow $1,000 to fix his car because he can't go to
you're
the bank.
using incredulity.
How is that? How is that? Because there are people who need $1,000 to fix their car get financed. They get financed through an actual bank. They don't go to their friend and say,
if you let me. If you'll let me, I'll explain it. Don't ask me to explain it and then just yell for 3 fucking minutes. If you want me to explain it, you're doing the first part right. You're asking me to explain it. Then shut the fuck up so I can try to explain it.
Me asking you to explain it wasn't actually me asking you, but apparently you didn't get that.
Well, because apparently you think it's unanswerable. You think it's a slam dunk. And the funny part is you're dead ass wrong. It's easily explainable.
Oh, of course I'm dead ass wrong. Explain it all, Ross. Please tell us. Please tell us how a 30-year-old who can't get financed through an actual institution but goes to his friend is legit. And that person's going to actually pay you back because obviously they have a good standing credit.
Well, I mean, there's several things. I mean, what if the guy? Well, here's an easy one. I've actually seen this. The guy's going through a divorce, or just went through a divorce. Either way, it's kind of the same thing. But he needs to keep his finances separate. He needs to, for example, not be messing around with credit cards, or he needs to store away some money or tuck away some money. So he needs to borrow money for a little while he goes through this thing. A person, actually a tenant of mine that was renting the house down in Oregon, and he had an injury, an on-site injury. And so he had been kept from work, and he had I think it was a bully claim, some kind of workers' comp issue going on. And so he had a settlement pending, and then it was actually accepted, but the payout date was like 3 months away. And he contacted me. He was broke as shit. And he was like, oh, please don't kick me out. I have this money coming in. I have like 20 grand coming in, but it won't be for 3 months. And I can't work. They haven't cleared me to work. So I legally can't work. I'm trying to do like under the job stuff here and there, but I barely get enough to put food in my stomach. I don't know what to do, yada, yada. So I actually called his attorney and I talked to him about the case. He joined me on a conference call to give me permission, or to give his attorney permission to speak with me. And we talked about the state of the case, and he gave me the case number, and I looked it up, and I did some research, and it sure did look like he was going to be getting about $20,000 in about 3 months. And so I wrote up a contract that essentially I would extend the payment out for 3 months, so he didn't pay rent for 3 months. And when he got the settlement, then he owed me the 3 months rent, and he literally did that.
Attorneys were pulled into that.
Yeah, well,
so let's go without attorneys. Let's go without legal notification. Let's go between two people, like we were saying. A 30-year-old guy comes to you to fix his car, needs $1,000.
But you see, this is more of the incredulity. Because
that's the story you were originally saying, and now you're changing it to something else that isn't the same story at all.
No. You have changed the context of what
changed
it.
Of course I've changed it.
Well, yeah, of course you've changed it.
No, I haven't. Not at all. But whatever.
Yes, you have. Because here's what I was saying.
I haven't. You're the one who changed it to make it suit your argument.
No.
Yeah, Ross. Yeah, you did.
Listen. What I was saying, and the point that I said multiple times, was that I believe that there's an inherent difference when you say doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I would agree with that statement. I mean, that is insanity. But there's a contention about what is doing the same thing over and over again. You have been saying that doing the same thing, like the definition within these stories of doing the same thing, would be loaning money to any friend. That's what you've been saying. And I'm saying...
A renter is not a friend. He's a renter.
Hang on. Because we're back on the subject of the 18 or 19-year-old versus the 35-year-old. So and that was friend v. friend. That's what we were talking about.
Yes, and the renter you just brought up was not a friend.
Damn it, Erin, let me finish.
No, because you changed the story.
You wanted more examples, so I gave you another example.
No, I didn't want more examples. I already said that to you. You gave me another example to try to suit your fucking claim, your bullshit claim. So you had to make another example, an example that still doesn't fit the fucking story, because a person who's renting off of you
because of your incredulity. because of your incredulity.
Of course, that's right. Because we rent to friends. Because there's nothing that's going to ever come between the friendship. Like, I don't know, owing that money
right now.
Yeah,
this is literally incredulity right now.
But
Meeting you again because you won't shut the fuck up. That is incredulity. What you're doing right now is incredulity. You are trying to say that, oh, this example is just unbelievable. This example just can't possibly fit. You're not actually explaining why it can't fit. You're not actually addressing anything. You're not even tentatively accepting it, even as like a hypothetical that's trying to be made. You're just pretending the baby goes out with the bathwater because you can find some kind of detail that it's just not jiving with you. You just don't feel it. It's just not good enough. So you're going to just throw the whole thing out. You're ignoring the fact that the examples, first off, are real. And then when you reject the first one and you come up with this reason, like, for example, it was an additional challenge. You said, give me an example where a man in his 30s
I didn't say it legit. I said it even after the fact. I wasn't actually asking you for an example, but you wanted to give it anyways. You wanted to go off on another fucking story. Did you? No, I didn't. Not legit. And after the fact, I said, did you realize I wasn't actually asking you for a fucking example?
And then after that,
I even said it to you, and you're like, but I'm going to give you one. Well, I'm going to give you one because I got to make my case, and I'm going to change the fucking point because I'm going to make my case. Oh, but then when you challenge me on it, I'm going to tell you that you changed it. Yeah, Ross, going to your fucking renter isn't talking about your 35-year-old friend. That's a renter.
Which one would you like me to explain?
I would like you to explain a 35-year-old friend who comes to you who needs a fucking loan because they can't go to a financial institution to get financed, just like the 18-year-old, how that is a fucking legit loan. How that is somebody that you could trust to pay you back because obviously a bank doesn't trust them. But hey, you can.
It's not about a bank trusting them. I mean, to an extent it is, but banks have
It's about their credit. It's about their fucking credit. And if they don't have the credit to get $1,000 loan from a bank,
trust thing. Yeah, I agree.
Obviously, they are high risk, and the bank's not going to loan them a measly $1,000 because the bank knows that they're probably not going to pay it back.
Yeah, probably, sure. So, I mean,
but you're going to tell me how that's not insane, and it's not the same thing as the 18-year-old because, hey, you have a renter, and you talked to his lawyer, so you were assured by legal people, not your friend,
right?
Yet again.
Which is kind of like it's like a character reference or a even a personal.
But the person who loaned from you still wasn't even your friend. They're a renter. That's somebody who does business with you on a monthly basis.
Right. This is what's called incredulity, though. You see, you're trying to make it sound like it's just so unbelievably absurd that I would compare the two.
No, I'm not. It's not absurd. It's not the same fucking thing. It's just I'm pointing out that it's not the same fucking thing, dude. You're the one saying it is, and then you're saying I'm changing it.
Same literal thing. The only same literal thing would be to say the same thing over again.
Yeah, no, he's your friend. He's your friend. The renter's your friend. We always rent to our friends because it works out so well for everybody.
Did I say that? Or are you making that shit up?
You, the one who started off with your 35-year-old friend, then went to a renter.
Right.
You're the one who did that all on your fucking own.
So
I even told you not to because I didn't want your fucking example.
Hang on. You're right. I gave you a 35-year-old friend example. And then I gave you a different example. So why are you mixing the two and talking about we rent to our friends?
You gave me a 35-year-old example. No, you said, oh, well, no, because if I did it with a 35-year-old, it's not insanity because it's not the same as the 18-year-old friend. And I said, if a 35-year-old friend can't fucking get financed, they're probably a faulty person to fucking loan money to. So it is the same thing. And you said, well, let me pull out this example way over here about a renter in Oregon who had $20,000 coming. So I talked to his lawyer to be reassured, which has nothing to do with what the fuck you said.
That's incredulity and switching the argument.
Sure it is. Sure it is, Ross. Sure it is. Let's just end this, please. Just fucking end this shit because you're giving me.
You can leave whenever you want. You can leave whenever you fucking want. I mean, I'm not keeping you here. I mean, it's clear that you're totally burned out on being wrong, so...
I'm not wrong, dude. You haven't been right, and I can't wait for you to fucking listen to this over again so then you can see how you kept pulling shit out of your fucking ass to try to be right, and you're just trying to make me look like an asshole. Thank you for making me, your friend, look like an asshole. You're a fucking asshole, dude. You're a fucking friend who constantly has to be right, and people see it all the fucking time. You're the only one who doesn't want to see it because you're fucking autistic Asperger's. You're like, I can't fucking take it anymore, man. Like, I'm sitting there talking about banks. I'm talking about banks, and you're gonna bring up fucking between two people to try to prove your point, which has nothing to do with what I was talking about. Like, I don't even get how we got here.
It has everything to do with what you're talking about.
Here just to try to prove your point that's fucking not going against anything that I fucking said whatsoever, right? No, I'm the crazy person just bringing up random fucking things, right? Oh, and then you want to call me the asshole. Fuck you, dude.
You're just using a lot of incredulity. Oh, see you later, bitch. You're just using a lot of incredulity to try to pretend that these examples have to be invalid. I mean, again, really simple one. You have an 18-year-old that wants a loan. You have a 35-year-old who wants a loan. Assuming they're both your friends and all other things are equal, it's probably a little different to consider, okay, well, how responsible is an 18-year-old? How responsible is a 35-year-old? What are their priorities like? What are their income prospects like? I mean, there's a lot of things that are different, which is enough that, yeah, it becomes different. So adding these layers of incredulity that, oh my God, we just can't believe, like, why can't the 35-year-old go to the bank? Because it's a hypothetical. I don't have a 35-year-old friend that wants a loan, so I can't use a real example. It's a hypothetical. Once again, we're completely failing to look at a hypothetical as a hypothetical. It's like, oh my God, this hypothetical has to actually totally pan out and be completely realistic. And everything about it needs to just totally square into reality and fit. And all the decisions that you assume in the hypothetical need to be actual decisions that actual people really would make, or the whole hypothetical just goes out. Well, under that situation, it wouldn't even be a hypothetical anymore. I mean, it would basically just be a history lesson, because you have to talk about all these things that anyone could argue someone might choose to do differently, and then the hypothetical goes out. So the only time that you could ever use one of these Erin level hypotheticals would be if every single detail was the way you say it turns out to be. And the only way you could do that would be like going into history and finding an actual example, because then you can establish the choices that people did make, instead of, I don't know, thinking of the decisions they ought to make or saying which decisions they make. I mean, unless it's some kind of crazy decision that's pivotal to the argument, it's okay to let it fly. But apparently some people can't entertain hypotheticals, and some people really just can't deal with analogies, metaphors, comparisons, stories, anecdote, anything, unless all of the details are completely believable in their personal experience of never taking out a loan from a friend and other bizarro things that are clearly limited to one's own life experience and don't look outside to even acknowledge that sometimes friends do loan friends money. I mean, heaven forbid. I think that's about all I've got. I thought Alex was going to be joining us, but he must be running late. So might spin up another one later. Yeah. Fuck all you people too. See you later.